Chapter 1079. Qi Donglu and Qin Wenyin were conversing via voice transmission. The others naturally had no idea that these people were from the ancient Battle Saint tribe. Only those who had awakened the Battle Saint bloodline and possessed the Battle Saint bone would know about this. Usually they would never mention this. It was only because Qin Wenyin came here that they revealed this secret to him. Yunshi, let the people from the Namhuang clan choose 2 treasures each. The people from the immortal Qianbian Gate can also choose 2 treasures each. Donglu has already said that since we came here, this can be considered a gift. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. Qin Wenyin smiled as he spoke to everyone. The treasures here were all 6th ranked, corresponding to the immortal foundation realm. Most probably, in the upper world, there would be 7th ranked treasures corresponding to the immortal king realm. Saint Lord is right. It's rare for everyone to come to my world, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Qi Donglu smiled. Namhuang Yunshi turned to Qin Wenyin and smiled. Namhuang Yunshi thanks Senior. Everyone is a friend of the Saint Lord, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Qi Donglu waved his hands as everyone started to choose their treasures. After everyone finished choosing their treasures, Qin Wenyin smiled. We've been here for several days and our harvests are already not small. It's time for us to leave. Qi Donglu started, feeling bewildered. He transmitted his voice to Qin Wenyin. Saint Lord, are you leaving just like this? You haven't chosen anyone from my clan yet. Also, although my clan has been destroyed, there are still some innate techniques that have been passed down. Although they are incomplete, they are still very powerful. More importantly, the Battle Saint art can be used as a reference. Donglu, there are many people in the outside world. I cannot let them suspect you guys. Hence, we need to leave this place. I will bring them along first and come back a few days later. Qin Wenyin transmitted his voice over. It was impossible for him to bring them out now. He didn't want to waste too much time. Zidi, Dongsheng Heaven Emperor, the Jiang clan and the Yin clan were all waiting outside. In order to better protect the secret of the Battle Saint tribe, he had to leave as soon as possible. I understand. Qi Donglu replied telepathically. Since Qin Wenyin would return, he naturally wouldn't say anything. Qi Donglu was naturally happy that the Saint Lord was being considerate of them. Yes, it's time to go. Namhuang Yunshi nodded her head. Although their harvests weren't as great as Qin Wenyan's, they didn't come here for nothing. Moreover, there was actually a power here that ancient Emperor Yi had once helped, forming a world of its own. This was truly interesting. Qin Wenyan's harvest was the greatest. After cultivating God's hand, it was unknown how many major powers would be jealous of him. Luckily, it was useless even if they were jealous. God's hand could only be cultivated in the ancient mountain. Qin Wenyin bid farewell to Qi Donglu as everyone returned to the entrance. Like before, only Qin Wenyin could open the exit. Stepping into the palace behind the bronze gate, Qin Wenyin took out the puppet armors and commanded, those with lower cultivation bases, please equip these puppet armors. Those fellows should still be outside, it's best to be more careful. Everyone nodded. Qin Wenyin took out the puppet armors and opened the gate for everyone, allowing them to enter. After that, he opened the exit and walked out. As expected, Qin Wenyin instantly saw many figures standing in front of him, staring at them. Yingting and the others recovered very quickly. When they saw Qin Wenyin coming out, their killing intent gushed forth uncontrollably. Their eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wenyin as their bodies trembled. Their hatred for Qin Wenyin had already reached an extreme. Everyone, you are still here. Qin Wenyin smiled and walked out of the bronze gate. After they exited, the bronze gate closed. The greater demons guarding outside still had their eyes closed, as though they didn't know what happened. Brother Qin, did you gain anything? Jiang Ziyu smiled as he stared at Qin Wenyin, without the slightest bit of anger in his tone. My cultivation of God's hand can be considered to have officially begun. I also obtained these puppet armors, as well as many 6th-ranked divine weapons. To me, this is a great harvest. However, I'm sure Brother Jiang wouldn't be interested in these things. Qin Wenyin smiled. The two of them continued to feign civility, not shedding all pretense of cordiality. Qin Wendian couldn't tell what Jiang Ziyu was thinking, but as long as Jiang Ziyu didn't take the initiative to antagonize him, he didn't want to make any more enemies. There were also times when descendants of the immortal realms were killed. For example, Dong Xingting and Zi Daoyang. If one wanted to live a long life in the immortal realms, there was no harm in being more cautious. I, Jiang, am very interested in God's hand. Sadly, I can't cultivate it. Jiang Ziyu sighed. As for 6th-rank divine weapons, I don't lack them. However, the other 2 bronze gates should contain even more valuable treasures. In the future, they would all belong to Brother Qin. I, Qin, don't have the ability to open these 2 bronze gates. Maybe when I break through to the immortal king realm and cultivate God's hand to an even higher level, I might have a chance to unravel the mysteries behind the bronze gates. Naturally, the prerequisite is that I have to live until then. Qin Wendian joked, glancing at everyone here. Jiang Ziyu stared at the eyes in Qin Wentian's puppet armor. In truth, he had the same conjecture as Qin Wendian. He also felt that only those with a higher cultivation base would be able to open the 2 bronze gates. As for whether Qin Wendian only obtained those treasures from the first bronze gate, Jiang Ziyu actually faintly believed in Qin Wendian. He glanced at the others, but none of them had any strange expressions on their faces. In this case, Qin Wendian was equivalent to a living treasure trove. The treasures left behind by ancient Emperor Yi could only be opened by him. Qin Wendian turned his head and stared at the other 2 bronze gates. Given his current cultivation base, it was true that he wouldn't be able to open them. Let's return. Qin Wendian spoke to the people around him. This trip to the ancient mountain was extremely beneficial to him. Right now, he had obtained an army of Immortal Foundation experts as well as all sorts of treasures. Naturally, what was even more terrifying was that in the future, if the other 2 bronze gates could be opened, then, most probably, the reason why ancient Emperor Yi could dominate the immortal realms back then was because of this. Qin Wendian left as soon as he said he wanted to. The people from the Namhuang clan and immortal Qianbian Gate didn't linger at all. The crowd retreated, opening up a path for them, allowing them to walk through as they headed towards the exit of this immortal palace. Yingting clenched his fists tightly. He glanced at the golden human-shaped diagram and the bronze gates with reluctance. Let's go. Now, they could only return. Everyone gradually retreated. Although they were reluctant to accept that they didn't gain anything from this trip to the ancient mountain, since things have come to this, there was no other way. They could only serve as foils for Qin Wendian. The ancient residence of ancient Emperor Yi, the Bronze Gates. I hope the clan can think of a way to send experts to enter. Yingting silently mused. However, he also knew that this would be extremely difficult. The ancient mountain was a place that even Zidi couldn't enter. Up until now, they still felt that everything here was left behind by ancient Emperor. Naturally, if Qin Wendian didn't enter that world and saw the people from the Battle Saint tribe, he would also feel the same way. A few days after everyone left, a figure wearing a bronze mask and a black dog came to Mount Wuji. He walked into the entrance of Mount Wuji and then took out a sealing magical treasure to seal the entrance. He then stepped into the immortal palace and walked directly to the golden human figure. He took a step towards the figure and, just like his original body, his body was being cleansed. Although the path he walked was different from his original body, it didn't hinder his cultivation of God's hand. His original body could unleash God's hand using destructive and suppressive energy. As for him, he could unleash it using sealing energy as well. After several days, after his body was cleansed, he returned and retrieved the sealing diagram. After that, he walked to the front of the bronze gates. The 3 greater demons opened their eyes as they stared at him with expressions of shock on their faces. After that, the greater demons saw Di Tian opening the bronze gates and stepping inside. The 3 greater demons exchanged mutual glances. There were actually 2 people who could open the bronze gates? Di Tian opened 2 gates and entered the world where the Battle Saint tribe was located. Very swiftly, numerous figures appeared. Qi Donglu stared at the figure with the bronze mask as his heart trembled. How could this be possible? Were there really going to be 2 Saint Lords? Donglu, it's me. Di Tian removed his mask, revealing his countenance. This countenance was completely identical to Qin Wenyan, only his aura was slightly different. Qi Donglu was still shocked. This person knew his name and his countenance was identical to Qin Wenyan. They should be the same person, but why was their aura so different? Even their aura was different. Avatar. Di Tian spoke. The secret of the Battle Saint tribe was on him and they swore an oath to protect him. Once the members of the Battle Saint tribe were captured, they would either commit suicide or destroy their memories. Hence, Di Tian dared to reveal this secret to them. It was impossible for the Battle Saint tribe to betray him. I pay my respects to Saint Lord. Qi Donglu no longer had any doubts. His heart trembled. He didn't expect the Saint Lord to be so powerful, having an avatar that cultivated a completely different cultivation path. This was equivalent to having another original body. Let's go. Di Tian stepped out. Qi Donglu followed behind. He didn't expect the Saint Lord to return so quickly. Youth, God's hand, treasured cauldron, sacred luminance, avatar. Seems like the Saint Lord of this generation was even more extraordinary compared to the previous Saint Lord. With regards to this, Qi Donglu was naturally filled with anticipation. In the external world, at the God Hand Mountain Manor, Zidi, Dongsheng Heaven Emperor, Nanfeng Guhong, the Ying clan and the immortal emperors of the Jiang clan were still waiting. After such a long time, the key characters who entered the ancient mountains still haven't come out. They had no idea how they were doing now. Did anyone manage to cultivate God's hand? If someone succeeded, who would it be? Also, they had no idea if there was a huge battle in the ancient mountain. How many casualties were there? At this moment, the aura in the ancient mountain fluctuated. After that, a bright light flashed as numerous figures riding on immortal weapons appeared, walking out from the ancient mountain. Ziyu. The eyes of the Jiang clan flashed. Jiang Ziyu led the people of the Jiang clan out. Yingting. The people of the Ying clan also saw the people of the Jiang clan coming out. One after another, experts from the various powers appeared. They actually came out together and there was no conflict at all. This caused them to feel somewhat bewildered. This shouldn't be the case, right? These people all came to the God Hand Mountain Manor, their gazes still fixed on the ancient mountain. Namhuang Yunxi appeared on a phoenix boat. The experts from the Namhuang clan and the immortal Qinbian Gate also appeared. In addition, all of them seemed to be clad in puppet armor. The gazes of the various powers turned over. Those who came out earlier all had unkind expressions on their faces. Also, everyone discovered that their eyes were all staring at the same figure. The young man standing beside Namhuang Yunxi was none other than Qin Wenyan. Chapter 1080. The Phoenix boat descended upon the God Hand Mountain Manor. Nanfeng Guhong and the Emperor of Qinbian all turned their gazes over. Zidi and the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor also turned their gazes over. At this moment, no one spoke, although everyone wanted to know what happened in the ancient mountain. The various experts stood in different locations. The God Hand Mountain Manor was very vast, hence, everyone was separated. Yingting. The immortal emperor of the Ying clan saw the killing intent radiating from Yingting. He then asked, what happened? What did he encounter in the ancient mountain? The gazes of everyone turned to Yingting only to see Yingting staring fixedly at Qin Wenyan as he spoke. Within the ancient mountain, there's an ancient Emperor Yi's residence. Qin Wenyan obtained the treasures there. As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying aura descended from the sky, boring down on Qin Wenyan. That pressure was so strong that it felt as though as long as they made the slightest movement, Qin Wenyan would die without a burial ground. Qin Wenyan. Zidi's gaze landed on Qin Wenyan. His robes fluttered in the wind as violet qi gushed forth. You can't withstand the treasures of ancient Emperor Yi. Hand them over. Yingting, you intentionally framed Qin Wenyan. Shameless. Namhuang Yunxi's expression turned unsightly. This Yingting wanted to kill Qin Wenyan. The waves of pressure bore down on Qin Wenyan. At this moment, Qin Wenyan's forehead was covered in sweat as his legs trembled. The Emperor of Qinbian stepped out, standing in front of Qin Wenyan. All of you are immortal kings and emperors. With your statuses, don't you think it's beneath you to deal with someone who just stepped into immortal foundation? Ingting is lying. That disciple from the heavenly talisman realm spoke. Seniors, it's best if you understand the situation first before saying anything. Then I'll have to listen to your explanation. Also, where are the people from Dongshengshan Gate? Dongxing Heaven Emperor took a few steps forward. His expression was the most unsightly. Many experts had come out, but he didn't see anyone from Dongshengshan Gate. Zidi's people weren't here. Naturally, the mysterious young man with the bronze mask whom he wanted to kill also didn't appear. Most probably, he knew that Qin Wenyan would wait for him outside and chose to hide in the ancient mountain, not daring to step out. After all, both he and Zidi's immortal sense had seen the young man killing the others. Ingting, what's going on exactly? The immortal emperor of the Ying clan asked. Very simple. Ingting was humiliated by Qin Wenyan in the ancient mountain. This is an act of revenge. Nam Huang Yunshi spoke. Ingting, do you want me to tell you everything? Ingting's expression turned cold. Nam Huang Yunshi, it's said that when a girl grows up, it's hard to keep her at home. As the holy successor of the Nam Huang clan, you actually fell in love with someone? Don't forget, you are not allowed to marry out of the clan. Nam Huang Yunshi already walked out from the puppet armor. Her beautiful face was filled with coldness. Did I say something wrong? Could it be that the puppet armors around you are not the treasures left behind by ancient Emperor Yi? Could it be that they weren't obtained from ancient Emperor Yi's immortal palace? Ingting coldly continued, Brother Jiang and everyone else can testify to this point. At this moment, Qin Wenyan walked out and smiled. Let me personally explain what happened to all the seniors here. Okay, I want to hear what you have to say. A demon Emperor Golden Condor spoke. The gazes of everyone turned to Qin Wenyan, waiting for him to speak. The matter is very simple. Within the ancient mountain, there's the divine essence of God's hand, allowing one to cultivate God's hand. I, Qin, was extremely fortunate and had some accomplishments in God's hand. Together, we managed to find the old residence of ancient Emperor Yi. Over there was a greater demon guarding it, and there's a high possibility that it's a greater demon emperor. Qin Wenyan spoke, his words causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. To think that the old residence of ancient Emperor Yi was actually hidden within the ancient mountain. There are 3 bronze gates in the old residence of ancient Emperor Yi. These bronze gates can only be opened by those who have cultivated God's hand. I used God's hand to open the first bronze gate and entered. The people here also entered together with me, and some minor conflicts occurred. I even injured Brother Ingting before. Hence, Brother Ingting feels some hatred towards me. Qin Wenyan smiled. His tone was as light as the clouds and wind, with no anger at all. It was like he was just joking around with Ingting. That calm tone of his actually caused Ingting's heart to burn with terrifying flames of rage. Within the bronze gates, there's the puppet armor I was wearing. There's also a treasure trove with other immortal weapons and treasures. All of them are at the 6th tier. I believe seniors wouldn't even be interested in them. After staying inside for a few days, I came out. The others were waiting outside, and they also saw that I didn't have the ability to open the other 2 bronze gates. Although the treasures inside might be more valuable, I might only be able to open them after I break through to the immortal king realm. Qin Wenyan smiled. This is the entire story. Many people who entered the ancient mountain have all witnessed it. There's no falsehood at all. Those immortal emperors stared at the group of people who came out, only to see that they didn't say anything. Seems like what Qin Wenyan said was true. In that case, all the treasures of ancient Emperor Yi could only be opened by him. At this moment, more people came out from the ancient mountain. These people were none other than the subordinates of the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor and the Violet Emperor. They lowered their heads and walked over in fear. When they arrived at the God Hand Mountain Manor, they immediately knelt before the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor and the Violet Emperor. At this moment, a terrifying baleful aura gushed forth from the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor and the Violet Emperor, boring down on everyone. Speak. Dongsheng Heaven Emperor spat out a single word. At that time, His Highness sent us to pursue Qin Wenyan. However, we were intercepted by the Namhuang clan and the immortal Qianbian Gate. Namhuang Yunxi and Qin Wenyan fled while His Highness Ting and Ziyunwu pursued them. As for what happened after that, we have no idea at all. Those people buried their heads in the ground, trembling in fear. Dongxing Heaven Emperor lost his son while Zidi lost his nephew. Qin Wendian. Dongxing Heaven Emperor took a few steps forward as his killing intent bore down on Qin Wendian once more. Emperor Qianbian walked in front of Qin Wendian, blocking Dongxing Heaven Emperor's pressure. Eastern Sage, your son hunted me down and was intercepted by a mysterious person using a sealing treasure. I was the one who was hunted down, and although I wanted to kill Dongxing Ting, his death has nothing to do with me. Yet you want to blame his death on me? Aren't you bullying me a little too much? Qin Wendian coldly spoke. Who knows if you participated or not? Zidi walked over. Senior Zidi, I've never met you before. I've only heard of Zidi's name. Senior's son Zi Deyang fought against me in the City of Ancient Emperors for the Immortal Ascension rankings, a battle between geniuses. We fought fair and square and defeated each other. You want to blame his death on me? That's why Ziyunwu pursued me and almost took my life. Now, you want to blame Ziyunwu's death on me? Is this the magnanimity of Senior Zidi? Zidi, you are a peak-level immortal emperor of the immortal realms. Aren't you lowering your status by doing this? Emperor Qianbian coldly spoke. Rumble. Zidi took a step forward. A terrifying might directly blasted Qin Wendian backwards as he groaned in misery. Since he said that this has nothing to do with him, I will bring him away. If I investigate thoroughly, I will naturally release him. Zidi spoke in arrogance. His palms stretched out, transforming into a terrifying violet palm that grabbed towards Qin Wenyin. The Emperor Qianbian's palms trembled as a bolt of lightning blasted forth, slamming into the violet palm. A terrifying aura engulfed the entire space. Although it was just a casual strike, it still caused cracks to appear on the ground. Emperor Qianbian, you dare to obstruct me? Zidi stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The gazes of everyone turned to him. This peak-level immortal emperor, Zidi, was truly tyrannical. He wanted to bring Qin Wendian away. Most probably, it wasn't as simple as revenge. Right now, Qin Wendian had God's hand on him, as well as the method to open the treasury of ancient emperor. Senior Zidi, even if you capture me, you don't have the strength to enter the ancient mountain. Regardless of God's hand or the treasury, you still wouldn't be able to obtain it. Qin Wenyin naturally understood Zidi's intentions. He coldly spoke. He dared to come out because of this logic. Even if he was captured, it would be useless. The others wouldn't be able to enter the ancient mountain. Zidi coldly snorted. Another wave of pressure blasted onto Qin Wenyin, causing him to retreat repeatedly. Even with the protection of the puppet armor, his body was still trembling violently from the impact. Zidi, this is beneath your status. Nanfeng Guhong walked over, standing before Qin Wenyin. This is my matter. Does the Namhuang clan want to interfere as well? Zidi stared at Nanfeng Guhong. Qin Wenyin is a friend of the Namhuang clan. Nanfeng Guhong calmly replied. The Namhuang clan wants to bring Qin Wenyin away themselves, right? The demon Emperor Condor coldly spoke. This time around, Qin Wenyin was the only one who benefited from this trip to the God Hand Mountain Manor. They didn't gain anything at all. The heart of a vile character. Nanfeng Guhong didn't even glance at the demon emperor as she coldly spoke. No matter what, we can't let Qin Wendian leave so easily. An immortal emperor from the Ing clan also spoke. Hee, all of you are immortal emperors yet you dare to bully me like this? In that case, I would like to ask seniors, what do you all want from me, Qin Wendian? Qin Wendian asked. At the same time, he actually took off the puppet armor. In front of these immortal emperors, it was useless. Qin Wendian didn't even glance sideways. He transmitted his voice to Emperor Yu. May I ask if senior's real name is Qi Yu? Qin Wendian's voice rang out in Emperor Yu's mind. His expression froze, he lowered his head and drank a mouthful of wine before slowly standing up. Everyone, you are all guests. Emperor Yu spoke, causing the gazes of everyone to turn to him. Emperor Yu slowly continued, "If you all wish to cultivate God's hand, I imparted the art of God's hand to all of you, allowing you all to enter the ancient mountain and search for the cultivation method. The door was open for all of you, but none of you could cultivate it. Now, God's hand has been successfully cultivated by a junior. As immortal emperors, all of you actually stood out instead. Isn't this a little inappropriate?" "Emperor Yu, what do you mean?" An immortal emperor from the Ing clan glanced over. "I've given everyone a chance. Since all of you feel that you can't do it, my God Hand Mountain Manor has invited all of you for such a long time. Now, it's time for all of you to leave." Emperor Yu stared at everyone, issuing an expulsion order. At this moment, everyone turned to Emperor Yu. Qin Wenyin obtained the inheritance of God's hand. Would Emperor Yu help him as well? Chapter 1081. Everyone wasn't clear about the relationship between Emperor Yu and ancient Emperor Yi. But earlier when he was dealing with the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, he faintly displayed an innate technique that was similar to God's hand. This caused people to suspect that Emperor Yu might have cultivated God's hand as well. In addition, Emperor Yu was the protector of ancient Emperor Yi's inheritance. Clearly, the relationship between him and ancient Emperor Yi was extraordinary. In that case, it was understandable that Emperor Yu wanted to stand up for Qin Wenyin. "Emperor Yu, are you trying to chase us out?" Zidi's eyes gleamed with violet light as he calmly spoke. "Those who respect me are my guests. Before this old man has already given all of you enough face by handing over God's hand for you to cultivate. Right now, the inheritor of God's hand has already appeared, yet you guys still want to cause trouble here? Aren't you looking down on this old man a little too much?" Emperor Yu coldly spoke, his voice enveloping the entire God Hand Mountain Manor. "In addition, if you guys want God's hand, you can enter the ancient mountain yourself. If you want the treasures, you can go and seize them. Dealing with a little baby brat is useless to you guys. I advise you all to consider this carefully." Emperor Yu's words were logical. Some immortal emperors were hesitating. After all, there were three parties supporting Qin Wenyin now: the Namhuang clan, Emperor Yu, and the Emperor Qianbian. Before this, there was only the Emperor Qianbian, and there was nothing to worry about. But now, with the addition of Emperor Yu, who could repel the Dongxing Heaven Emperor with a single arrow, as well as the two experts beside him, as well as the Namhuang clan, they had no choice but to consider things carefully. "My Namhuang clan will protect Qin Wenyin. Everyone, please consider carefully, don't make the wedding dress for others." Nanfeng Guhong spoke at the same time. These two hegemonic characters clearly expressed their support for Qin Wenyin. Some of the immortal emperors of the southern regions already had thoughts of retreating. It seemed that they wouldn't be able to participate in this matter. Would the Namhuang clan spend so much effort for an outsider? Dongxing Heaven Emperor replied, "Eastern Sage, it's best if you don't interfere in the matters of the Namhuang clan. You are not qualified yet." Nanfeng Guhong couldn't be bothered to reply to him. She merely spoke with arrogance, her words causing Qin Wenyin, who was beside her, to deeply sense the might of an immortal emperor of the Namhuang clan. Although Nanfeng Guhong was only the holy maiden of the Southern Phoenix Matriarch, she was still a holy maiden at the immortal emperor realm, a direct descendant of the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. She didn't have the Dongxing Heaven Emperor in her eyes at all. "The death of my nephew and the death of Eastern Sage's son has yet to be investigated. You want us to forget everything with a single sentence?" Zidi spoke again. "That's right. No matter what, we have to settle this debt." The immortal emperor of the Ing clan spoke. His Ing clan wasn't afraid of the Namhuang clan at all. "How ridiculous! Your nephew and the son of Eastern Sage chased after Qin Wenyin. Even if Qin Wenyin killed them, there's nothing wrong with that. Since their skills were inferior, who can be blamed? Let alone the fact that Qin Wenyin wasn't the one who killed them. As immortal emperors, why are you guys venting your anger on Qin Wenyin?" Nanfeng Guhong continued, "As for your Ing clan, Ingting was humiliated by Qin Wenyin in the ancient mountain. As an elder, you actually stepped out? Are the descendants of the Ing clan all so useless? Simply throwing the face of the ancient clans of the southern region away." Who needs an elder to step out? If it wasn't for Qin Wenyan borrowing the puppet armor, Yingting would have killed him effortlessly. Yingting was pointed out and mocked. His anger burned. The humiliation he suffered at the Bronze Gate could only be washed away with the blood of Qin Wenyan. Did you hear that? He used despicable methods to deal with Yingting. An immortal emperor from the Ying clan spoke. Is that so? A calm voice rang out. Qin Wenyan walked out from behind Emperor Qianbian and Nanfeng Guhong. His gaze turned to Yingting as he spoke. Since Senior feels this way, allow me and Yingting to settle our grudges using the method of juniors. No immortal weapons, no puppets. If Yingting defeats me, I will follow the Ying clan and allow Senior to deal with me as you wish. The eyes of the immortal emperor from the Ying clan flashed. His gaze gave Qin Wenyan a huge pressure. What an arrogant brat. The immortal emperor from the Ying clan spoke. If he lost, he would follow the Ying clan. This was akin to handing his life over to him. Yingting. He stared at Yingting as a questioning look appeared on his face. Leave it to me. Yingting radiated a terrifying rage as he stepped out. Wait a minute. Nanfeng Guhong suddenly spoke. The immortal emperor from the Ying clan glanced at her only to hear Nanfeng Guhong continuing, What should we do if Yingting is defeated? Do as you wish. Yingting replied. My Namhuang clan has no interest in you. If Qin Wenyan really kills you, would your Ying clan release Qin Wenyan today? If you want to kill him, you are nothing more than an empty dream. Nanfeng Guhong coldly spoke. What do you want? The immortal emperor from the Ying clan asked. Qin Wenyan, what do you think? Nanfeng Guhong asked Qin Wenyan. How would Junior dare to make a request of the Ying clan? If I win, I only hope that the Ying clan will leave this place and not find trouble for me in the future because of this matter. Qin Wenyan smiled. Nanfeng Guhong nodded her head silently. Qin Wenyan was truly calm. He knew what he should do at this moment. He obtained God's hand as well as the treasure left behind by ancient emperor. In the eyes of everyone, these treasures were living treasures. Qin Wenyan should be thinking about how to resolve his future troubles instead of trying to show off his might for a moment. Do you think you can win? Yingting arrogantly spoke as he stepped out. Senior. Qin Wenyan didn't look at Yingting but was staring at the immortal emperor from the Ying clan instead. I promise you, if you win, my Ying clan will leave this place and not find trouble for you in the future. The immortal emperor from the Ying clan was also very confident in Yingting's strength. Qin Wenyan's cultivation base was only at the first level of immortal foundation. Although his combat prowess was tyrannical, Yingting's cultivation base was higher than his. Also, as a heaven chosen of his clan, there should be a 90% chance that he could defeat Qin Wenyan. Brothering, please. Qin Wenyan politely spoke. Yingting's eyes burned with rage. With a rumbling sound, his aura erupted forth as the might of an immortal emperor gushed forth from him. Immortal light flashed from Yingting as a thunderous roar thundered out, shaking the heavens and earth. Behind Yingting, a terrifying demonic dragon actually manifested. In an instant, the gigantic shadow of a demonic dragon appeared in the sky, peering down disdainfully at everyone, exuding a terrifying might. Demonic Dragon Immortal Foundation. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. The Namhuang clan and the Ying clan were the two hegemonic powers of the southern regions. The immortal foundations of the Namhuang clan were in the form of phoenixes while the immortal foundations of the Ying clan were in the form of dragons. In addition, this immortal foundation demonic dragon was truly powerful. The grade of its immortal foundation was also very high, resembling a true gigantic demonic dragon. The people of the Ying clan cultivate a secret art of the ancient races, using dragons to form their immortal foundations. Their combat prowess is tyrannical and they are known as emperors among men. Although this Qin Wenyan is also an extraordinary genius, in a situation where his cultivation base is too low, how can he contend against Yingting? Everyone stared at the battlefield. Qin Wenyan's entire body radiated a dazzling light as a fearsome might gushed forth from him. At this instant, the crowd only saw Qin Wenyan undergoing a transformation. A resplendent light radiated from him, but this wasn't immortal light. It was like an innate halo of light, a halo of the fleshly body. At this instant, Qin Wentian's aura skyrocketed, akin to an innate emperor possessing an indestructible body. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar of rage rang out. Long Teng's immortal foundation radiated a fearsome might as golden dragons swooped down. The gigantic bodies of the dragons exuded a fearsome aura of a king, wanting to devour Qin Wentian whole. Yingting stood arrogantly in the air, resembling a supreme emperor, exuding an aura that towered up into the heavens. The entire sky was covered by the demonic dragon Yingting, shaking the heavens and earth. Within Qin Wentian's body, his immortal foundation changed as numerous pictures of the true Ho appeared. His palms radiated a brilliant light as he blasted out with God's hand. The gigantic true Ho let out heaven-shaking roars as they fought against the demonic dragon. For a period of time, the heavens and earth trembled violently. Boom! Yingting stepped out. His arms transformed into dragon arms as he blasted out. Draconic roars shook the heavens as an incomparably thick demonic dragon arm swept through the heavens and earth, shattering space as it shot towards Qin Wentian. At the end of the arm, a gigantic bloody maw appeared, wanting to devour Qin Wentian whole. It wanted to devour Qin Wentian in a single gulp. The light radiating from Qin Wentian grew even more resplendent as rumbling sounds rang out. His body grew larger, resembling an indestructible god as runic light flashed around him. Die! Qin Wentian roared. He folded his arms as a draconic shadow manifested from his body. Similarly, a demonic dragon soared up into the air, colliding with the gigantic maw of the demonic dragon arm, resulting in a violent explosion. This physique. Everyone stared at the physique of Qin Wentian. A first-level immortal foundation cultivator actually had such a terrifying physique. It was simply an indestructible body, akin to the body of a myriad of laws. This was too terrifying. Many people had a feeling that if someone at the same level as Qin Wentian attacked Qin Wentian, that person would definitely be killed by Qin Wentian's physique. The immortal emperors of the Ying clan frowned. The combat prowess of this Qin Wentian was simply too overwhelming. His aura was immense, like a descendant of a saint beast. He was like a descendant of a divinity. Although your combat prowess is strong, you still have to die. Yingting roared in rage. Instantly, the roars of dragons rang out as numerous terrifying greater demons appeared in the air, staring down at Qin Wentian with disdain. The killing might of the innate techniques of the Ying clan was extremely terrifying. Die for me! Yingting roared. 10,000 dragons roared as they slammed down. This 10,000 dragon slaughter contained a devouring might, an indomitable might of metal, and an incomparably violent demonic might. All these immortal law energies were infused into his immortal foundation, and when they erupted forth, how terrifying would it be? Qin Wentian's body emitted a heaven-shaking howl of rage. His strength was pushed to the extreme as powerful runic light circulated around him. His body grew larger once more, and when he stared at the overwhelming might of the 10,000 dragon slaughter, his eyes gleamed with a dazzling light. The fearsome runes on his body transformed into an incomparably gigantic shadow of a Xuanwu divine turtle, enveloping Qin Wentian. Numerous demonic dragons slammed down, causing the shadow of the Xuanwu divine turtle to tremble violently. However, the attacks didn't manage to break through it. This caused everyone to be deeply shocked at how terrifying Qin Wentian's physique was. How strong was his defense? Boom! Qin Wentian's body grew larger and larger. With a thunderous roar, terrifying great rocks manifested from his body, tearing apart the heavens and earth, wanting to destroy everything. His palm blasted out, causing the sky to change color as the space around him was destroyed. Yingting's expression drastically changed. He unceasingly unleashed terrifying attacks, but all of them were destroyed under the might of that terrifying palm. Not only that, a terrifying black-colored ancient halberd of destruction appeared in his opponent's hand, capable of destroying everything. Finally, Yingting felt the sky turning dark. The gigantic palm slammed down, causing cracks to appear on his immortal foundation as his body was flung through the air. Chapter 1082. Bang! Ingting's body slammed into the ground as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. The dragon phantom in the air vanished as his immortal foundation retracted back into his body. His aura fluctuated wildly as his countenance turned ashen. Defeated, Ingting was defeated. Before this, Qin Wenyin used a puppet to humiliate him. That couldn't be considered a true battle. But now they fought openly, not borrowing the power of a puppet or divine weapon. Qin Wenyin jumped a realm and defeated him. He, a genius of the Ying clan, was defeated miserably under the gazes of everyone. Brother Ying's combat prowess is strong. If your cultivation base is a little higher, you might have a chance to defeat me. Qin Wenyin calmly spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, Ingting coughed out another mouthful of blood. He was so angered by Qin Wentian's words that he coughed out blood. What did he mean by only having a higher cultivation base would he have a chance to win? This was clearly an open insult. What cultivation base did he have to reach before he could win? If he was at the same cultivation level as Qin Wenyan, wouldn't he be slapped to death by Qin Wenyan with a single palm strike? The gazes of everyone turned to Qin Wenyan. This fellow didn't contain any anger when he spoke. He didn't have the arrogance and domineering aura of Ingting. However, his words were filled with hidden daggers, causing Ingting to be angered to the point of coughing blood. However, his combat prowess was extremely terrifying, simply a rarely seen demon-level character. His physique was perfect and flawless, akin to an innate god of war. The immortal emperor of the Ying clan also had an unsightly expression on his face. Ingting was defeated. Before this, he also felt that there was no reason for Ingting to lose, but he was indeed defeated. As an immortal emperor representing the Ying clan of the southern regions, it was impossible for him to go back on his words. This meant that he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Roar! Ingting stood up and let out a roar of humiliation. This was the second time he had been humiliated by Qin Wenyan. He thought that this defeat was a great humiliation. He had lost his face in front of all the major forces. From now on, he would never be able to raise his head in the Ying clan with dignity. The humiliation of this defeat would follow him forever, and he would be pointed at by others. Ingting. The immortal emperor of the Ying clan spoke. It's just a battle. Go back and cultivate well. In the future, you can wash away this humiliation. Ingting's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the immortal emperor with clenched fists. Let's go back. The immortal emperor of the Ying clan calmly spoke. After that, the experts of the Ying clan gathered as they soared up into the air. Before Ingting left, his eyes were cold as he stared at Qin Wenyan, his killing intent unmasked. Brother Ing, take care. Qin Wenyan smiled. Ingting, who soared up into the air, let out another roar of rage as he soared into the distance. The experts of the Ying clan gradually vanished from the vision of everyone. Everyone, are you guys still not leaving? Emperor Yu glanced at everyone as he calmly spoke. I don't wish to say anything more. The ancient mountain is right there. Regardless of whether you want the god's hand or the treasures, just go ahead. Even if you guys capture Qin Wenyan, it would be useless. You still have to enter the ancient mountain. If you can't enter, everything would be for naught. At this moment, the experts of the various powers already had thoughts of retreating. They knew that what Emperor Yu said was the truth, but they still felt some reluctance. They were thinking of other methods to probe Qin Wenyan for information. That was the ultimate art and treasures of ancient Emperor Yi. Who wouldn't want it? Some people already turned and prepared to leave. But at this moment, Zidi continued, I don't seem to have agreed to leave. Zidi, why must you make things difficult for a junior? Emperor Yu coldly spoke. If the deaths of your son and nephew were related to him, would you still be so calm? Zidi glanced at Emperor Yu. If I want to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping my palm. None of you would be able to obstruct me. However, this seat isn't a tyrannical person. I only want to bring him away to investigate the truth. Why must you all obstruct me? If you want to put it this way, I have nothing to say. Emperor Yu stared at him and took a step forward as he calmly spoke. In that case, I'll put my words out there. Back then, ancient Emperor Yi has shown me kindness and I'm the protector of his inheritance. Now that Qin Wenyan has obtained ancient Emperor Yi's recognition, as the protector of his inheritance, I have the responsibility to ensure his safety. You, Zidi, naturally can kill him. But if you dare to use your identity as an immortal emperor to bully the weak, I'm afraid it won't be as simple as the death of your nephew. Imichem? Those who wanted to leave involuntarily halted when they saw Emperor Yu arguing with Zidi. Their eyes gleamed with a bright light. Could it be that Emperor Yu wanted to declare war against Zidi? And as expected, after Zidi heard this, violet light flashed as his aura intensified. He stared at Emperor Yu. Are you threatening this seat? You can understand it that way. Emperor Yu domineeringly replied. Zidi fell silent. The pressure in this space was extremely terrifying. Two immortal emperors stood facing each other, their long robes fluttering despite the absence of wind. Emperor Yu's white hair fluttered in the wind. Could it be that this reclusive immortal emperor truly had the strength to fight against a peak-stage immortal emperor like Zidi? If that's the case, wasn't Emperor Yu hiding his strength too deeply? Qin Wenyan stood at the side, watching everything. Since he was the Saint Lord of the Battle Saint tribe, Emperor Yu would definitely protect him. He didn't doubt this at all. However, this Zidi was truly difficult to deal with. As a peak-stage immortal emperor in the immortal realms, there was no need to doubt that Zidi's strength was extremely powerful. Violet chi coiled around his body, causing a terrifying violet light to appear in the sky, blotting out the sun. Emperor Yu's aura also erupted forth. At this instant, a towering battle might enveloped Emperor Yu's body. An ancient battle saint chi gushed forth from his body, making him look like a supreme battle king. At this moment, this old man had transformed into a god of war. Just by standing there casually, he gave off a sense of supreme majesty that was above the heavens and earth. Battle Saint Art. Qin Wenyan silently mused. Boom! Zidi stretched out his palm as a terrifying violet light instantly enveloped Qin Wenyan. Qin Wentian's body was directly grabbed by the violet light as it flew towards Zidi. Bang! Qin Wenyan directly crushed the spatial talisman in his hand as his body was instantly enveloped by spatial energy. That violet light actually managed to grab hold of the spatial energy while Qin Wenyan directly retreated far away. Zidi coldly snorted. How could such a petty trick be used before an immortal emperor? The violet light instantly shot towards Qin Wenyan. Although they were very far apart, Qin Wentian's body was still grabbed back. But at this moment, Emperor Yu appeared before Zidi. He blasted out with a palm imprint, causing this entire space to crumble. With Zidi at the center, the entire space was sucked in as everything was destroyed. His violet eyes gleamed with a terrifying violet light as he similarly blasted out with his palm. Both of their palms collided together as a bolt of lightning shot down from the heavens. For those with weaker cultivation bases, they only felt their souls trembling. Beneath their feet, the earth crumbled as a boundlessly deep crevice appeared. The earth was split into two. The two of them were enveloped by a terrifying light, not allowing the fluctuations of their attacks to dissipate. If not, half of the people here would have already been killed. Boom. Another violet light descended as the two of them actually vanished from sight. The place they were standing at earlier was completely destroyed. In the air, rumbling sounds rang out as a destructive light appeared, enveloping the entire space. The light from the battle was like a divine radiance, creating a scene of destruction. The silhouettes of Emperor Yu and the Violet Emperor could be faintly seen within. Rumble! Another few bolts of lightning shot down from the heavens. Within a radius of 1,000 miles, many places were struck by the lightning. Not a single inch of soil remained as fissures appeared on the ground. How terrifying was the might of an emperor-level battle! Not only that, this was a battle between peak-stage immortal emperors. Those immortal emperors inclined their heads, their gazes piercing through the destructive light as they stared up at the sky, feeling shock in their hearts. Emperor Yu was actually so powerful? He could even contend against Zidi. Boom! The two of them suddenly appeared in the God Hand Mountain manner, standing at their original positions. It was as though they had never moved at all, as though the battle earlier didn't happen at all. Now, Zidi should be able to value my words more. Emperor Yu stared at Zidi as he calmly spoke. What innate technique did you cultivate? Zidi asked. Both of them were extremely calm. They didn't seem like opponents from the terrifying battle earlier. The innate technique Emperor Yi cultivated back then. Emperor Yu replied. The most famous technique of ancient Emperor Yi was none other than God's hand. As for his other abilities, countless years have passed, who would know? What he used was naturally the battle's saint art, warring against the heavens and earth, destroying everything in its path, nurturing itself through battle, growing stronger the more it fought. Your luck is truly not bad at all. Zidi's gaze landed on Qin Wenyin. The first time, the Chongqing the Great refused to hand Qin Wenyin over. The second time, the Namhuang clan refused to hand Qin Wenyin over. The third time, he personally came here with Emperor Yu's protection. He, Zidi, has never been so troublesome to capture a junior before. Senior Zidi is too serious. Qin Wenyin replied. Let's hope your luck will always be this good. Zidi spoke. With a flick of his sleeves, Qin Wenyin was directly flung through the air, slamming into a pavilion. His body trembled as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Before immortal emperors, immortal foundation experts had no way to resist at all. It would be as easy as flipping his palm if he wanted to kill them. This made Qin Wenyin even more certain that his earlier caution was correct. Zidi and the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had no idea that Dongsheng Ting and Ziyunwu were killed by him. I also hope that Senior's luck won't always be this bad. Qin Wenyin inclined his head and stared at Zidi. Blood flowed from the corners of his lips as a demonic smile appeared on his face. Zidi's men had offended Zi Daoyang and Ziyunwu. Zidi's eyes flashed as he stared at Qin Wenyin. Killing intent flickered in his eyes, causing Qin Wenyin to feel a bone-piercing coldness in his heart. Zidi, pay attention to your status. Nanfeng Guhong walked towards Qin Wenyin as she spoke. Don't forget my words. Since you can kill him, I can kill your men as well. Emperor Yu's expression turned heavy. Zidi stepped out and spoke. You guys stay in the ancient mountain and wait for that bronze-masked man to come out. Kill him without mercy. Zidi's men trembled as they replied. Luckily, Zidi spared them. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor, the Xian Emperor and the Shao Emperor all had unsightly expressions on their faces. Even Zidi had retreated, there was no hope for them. Qin Wenyan's life was truly tough. Right now, there were many immortal emperors supporting him. Chapter 1083. Among these immortal emperors, the one who wanted to kill Qin Wenyin the most was the Xian Emperor, followed by the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor. The son of the Xian Emperor, Xian Xing, truly died in the hands of Qin Wenyin. Although Dongsheng Ting died, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had no idea that Dongsheng Ting also died in the hands of Qin Wenyin. Hence, his hatred wasn't as deep as the Xian Emperor's. But although the Xian Emperor was also an immortal emperor, he was one of the weaker ones. His strength couldn't be compared to the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor and Emperor Qianbian. Over here, there were Nanfeng Guhong, Emperor Qianbian, Emperor Yu, and Qin Wenyin. Any one of these immortal emperors were stronger than him. What could he, the Xian Emperor, do? Kill Qin Wenyin? Even Zidi failed to do this. How could he dare to do it? Although he hated, he could only endure it temporarily. Qin Wenyin could sense the killing intent in the eyes of the Xian Emperor. If there was a chance, the Xian Emperor would definitely not hesitate to take his life. You guys guard the exit of the ancient mountain together with Zidi's men. If that mysterious man comes out, kill him without mercy. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor spoke. After that, he coldly glanced at Qin Wenyin and soared through the air. He naturally understood that the mysterious man in the bronze mask wouldn't dare to come out. After killing his son, Dongsheng Ting, as well as the nephew of Zidi, the mysterious man would most probably hide in there for a very long time. The Xian Emperor wouldn't stay here forever, but he would definitely send people to guard the exit. Brother Qin, remember to be a guest of my Jiang clan in the future. Jiang Ziyu calmly spoke. After that, the people of the Jiang clan departed. Zidi and Dongsheng Heaven Emperor left one after another. It was meaningless for the others to stay behind. The people from the various major powers started to disperse, feeling disappointed. Since they couldn't enter the ancient mountain, they had no fate with God's hand and the treasures. Seems like they could only wait for Qin Wentian's cultivation base to grow stronger before they enter the ancient mountain and snatch the treasures from Qin Wentian. This seemed to be the only solution. As expected, Qin Wentian discovered that although the major powers had left, they still ordered some of their subordinates to guard the entrance of the ancient mountain. Qin Wentian knew that from today onwards, this ancient mountain would be closely watched. Especially for him, the moment he entered the ancient mountain, he would instantly attract attention. He also understood that these people had no way to obtain the treasures and temporarily wouldn't pay attention to him. But the moment he entered the ancient mountain to obtain the treasures of ancient Emperor Yi, another storm of blood would surely ensue. Looks like there's going to be some trouble. Qin Wentian stared at the guards outside the ancient mountain. In the future, those immortal emperors might even order their subordinates to enter the ancient mountain. If that's the case, it would be inconvenient for them to move around. Are you all right? Nam Huang Yunxi walked to the side of Qin Wentian as she asked. Qin Wentian wiped away the traces of blood at the corner of his lips. He smiled. Don't worry about it. What I gained back is far greater than what I paid. Nam Huang Yunxi rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. However, she knew that Qin Wentian was speaking the truth. This time, to Qin Wentian, the gains were far greater than what he paid. In addition, Zidi's nephew, Zi Yunwu, and Dongxing Heaven Emperor's son, Dongxing Ting, were both plotted against by Qin Wentian. Even though he suffered some humiliation, he still profited. If they knew the truth, most probably Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor would go berserk. Many thanks for Senior's help. Qin Wentian bowed to Emperor Yu. Emperor Yu stroked his white beard as he smiled at Qin Wentian. This fellow really knew how to act, but this was for the best. He naturally understood that the secret of the Battle Saint tribe couldn't be exposed. Qin Wentian didn't say anything about it and pretended that he didn't know about him. It was only because of ancient Emperor Yi that the two of them had some connection. It's nothing much. After you inherited ancient Emperor Yi's secret art, you offended many major characters. In the future, you have to be more careful when you do things. Don't let ancient Emperor Yi's secret art be lost. Emperor Yu persuaded. Junior understands. Qin Wentian nodded. Qin Wentian, what do you plan to do next? Nam Huang Yunxi asked in a low voice. Now that he had already obtained God's hand, she didn't know what plans Qin Wentian had. Let's return to the immortal Qianbian Gate. Qin Wentian smiled. This time around we have been out for quite a long time. I will go back and take a look before entering closed-door seclusion for a period of time. Right now, Di Tian was cultivating in the Battle Saint tribe. He was preparing to enter closed-door seclusion together with Di Tian, cultivating both sides. Also, the cultivation of God's hand would be of great help to his cultivation base. In that case we will part ways. Take care. Nam Huang Yunxi smiled. Take care. Qin Wentian nodded. Nanfeng Shinga also smiled. Qin Wentian, if you are free, come to the Nam Huang clan as a guest. I will play a song for you to enjoy. Being able to enjoy the music of a beauty like Shinga, it would be a wonderful thing in the world. Qin Wentian smiled. We haven't parted so soon. Don't be in such a hurry to bid farewell. We will borrow the teleportation array of the Nam Huang clan to return. Emperor Qianbian suddenly spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian, Nam Huang Yunxi and the others to start. They glanced at each other as everyone laughed. This place was the southern regions of the Immortal Realms and was extremely far away from the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures. Earlier, they headed to the southern Phoenix Immortal City and borrowed the teleportation array to return. Just nice, we can take care of each other on the way back. Nanfeng Guhong smiled and nodded. After that, everyone bid farewell to Emperor Yu and departed. Not long after, the God Hand Mountain Manor quietened down once again. Many cracks could be seen on the ground. Emperor Yu stroked his beard and smiled. It's quiet again. Yeah, it's quiet now. Sometimes I feel like going back to take a look. An old man beside Emperor Yu spoke in a low voice. Don't think too much about it. Emperor Yu stared at the sky. Maybe, only when the Battle Saint tribe returned to their former peak would their tribe be able to walk out openly and roam the world. This required the hard work of many generations. The Saint Lord of this generation, Qin Wenyan, was still young, but his talent was outstanding. In fact, he was even more outstanding compared to ancient Emperor Yi back then. It was unknown how far he would be able to reach in the future. In the Cloud Prefecture, at the immortal Qianbian Gate, the Emperor Qianbian and the others have returned. Bai Wuya and several disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm followed them to the immortal Qianbian Gate. This caused Qin Wenyan to feel extremely puzzled. Senior brother, are the disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm going to enter the immortal Qianbian Gate? Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice to Bai Wuya. Bai Wuya nodded lightly. Wenyan, it has been a long time since you returned to the Heavenly Talisman realm. Right now, the Heavenly Talisman realm has issued an important mission, and it's a mission that requires several disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm to work together to complete. The disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm who came to the immortal Qianbian Gate are all participants for this mission. What mission? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he continued to transmit his voice. Unify the Eastern Sage 13 Prefectures. Bai Wuya's voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind, causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble slightly. Back then, he participated in the once 100 years immortal banquet held by the Dongshengshan Gate and obtained the position of champion. At that time, the Emperor of Qianbian appeared and requested for 6 prefectures from the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. However, how could the power of the Emperor of Qianbian be compared to the Dongxing Heaven Emperor who had governed the 13 prefectures for so many years? The Emperor of Qianbian would be devoured sooner or later. In fact, the 6 prefectures that the immortal Qianbian Gate requested for from the powers of the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures were all submissive on the surface, but they still chose not to join the immortal Qianbian Gate. Because they knew that the immortal Qianbian Gate had no advantage at all and would be destroyed sooner or later. Right now, the Heavenly Talisman realm was slowly infiltrating the immortal Qianbian Gate, aiding the Emperor of Qianbian. Everything was so logical, it was like the immortal Qianbian Gate was growing stronger bit by bit. Everything happened so naturally, but it seemed like a plan that had been prepared for a very long time. From the very start, maybe the Heavenly Talisman realm was already preparing to enter the immortal realms, gradually moving from the shadows to the light. This is truly a huge mission. Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice. I'm afraid this mission will take up a lot of time. Naturally. After the mission is issued, only Immortal Kings and Immortal Foundation experts are allowed to accept it. There's no need for Immortal Emperors to accept it. Also, there's a limit to the number of people who can accept it. Right now, the number of slots isn't full yet. I've already reserved some slots for the few of you. Do you want to join? Bai Wuya stared ahead as he slowly walked forward. The others didn't know that the two of them were conversing through voice transmissions. What's the reward for this long mission? Qin Wenyan smiled. Unifying the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures, such a mission could definitely be considered a supreme-tier mission. It was like establishing an immortal empire, a peak-tier mission. Also, it was the style of the Heavenly Talisman realm. There's no mandatory requirement and one could freely choose to accept it. When the mission is completed, those who are still alive will receive a special reward. The details have yet to be announced, but the special rewards of the Heavenly Talisman realm have never disappointed us before. Bai Wuya had a smile on his face. Senior brother, what role will you play in this mission? Qin Wenyan asked. The commander will assist the Emperor of Qianbian. Because immortal emperors can't participate in this war, the future battles between the immortal Qianbian Gate and the Dongshengshan Gate will be led by me. Bai Wuya spoke. I'm in. Qin Wenyan smiled. Unifying the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures, how could Qin Wenyan reject such a mission? After the battle in the particle world, he had already vowed to destroy the Dongshengshan Gate and kill the Eastern Sage immortal realms. This was his goal. Right, I will ask Mengchen. Bai Wuya spoke. Since you have accepted this mission, you can do whatever you want normally. But once there's a summons, you have to be present no matter what. Understood. Qin Wenyan nodded. Since he had accepted this mission, he naturally had to work hard to accomplish it. How could it be possible for him to be like a field of loose sand when facing such a huge mission? However, you better focus on your cultivation. Even if there's a war in the near future, there's no need for you to participate. By Wuya spoke. After all, Qin Wentian's cultivation base was still on the weaker side. If these two powers were to fight, it would be akin to an immortal war. For those with lower cultivation bases, it would be useless for them to participate unless it was a minor mission. If it wasn't important, Bai Wuya wouldn't waste Qin Wentian's time. Everyone dispersed. Qin Wenin and Purgatory returned to the palace they were staying in. A snow-white silhouette dashed over, but it didn't lunge towards Qin Wenian. Instead, it dove into Purgatory's embrace. Sadly, Purgatory didn't appreciate it and tossed it away with a look of disdain on her face. AI, little Purgatory doesn't miss Bao Bao at all. Little Rascal was tossed onto the ground as he spoke in a depressed manner. Scram! Purgatory glared at Little Rascal. This little lecher was so mischievous. Upon seeing the two of them fooling around, Qin Wenian couldn't help but to laugh. In front of them, the silhouette of a supreme beauty appeared. Her robes fluttered in the wind, her expression as gentle as water as she stared at them. Qin Wentian stepped out, instantly appearing beside Mo Qingqing. He stretched out his arms and embraced her slender waist as he lightly kissed her forehead. "Qingqing, I'm back." And Mo Qingqing nodded lightly. "Little Purgatory, look at how good the relationship between Wentian and Qingqing is. Let's hug too." Little Rascal floated in front of Purgatory as he stretched out his little paw. Purgatory glared at him and walked past him, directly ignoring him. "Little Purgatory, you don't know love." Little Rascal sighed. Qin Wenian and Mo Qingqing glanced over as they both laughed. This Little Rascal was truly a demonic genius. Chapter 1084. The immortal realms have existed for countless years in the river of time, witnessing the rise and fall of generations. In the perspective of the history of the immortal realms, even if it was thousands or tens of thousands of years, it was merely a tiny part of the river of time. The deeds of an ordinary person, when placed in the annals of history, was like a drop in the ocean. Only those ancient emperors would know of their existence even after countless years. Other than this, even for immortal emperors, when placed in the history of the immortal realms, they were insignificant, let alone ordinary people. Time flowed by, 7 years passed in the blink of an eye. The immortal realms were the same as before, there were no changes at all. But during these 7 years, Qin Wentian lived a very fulfilling life. He and his avatar Di Tian entered closed-door seclusion at the same time, breaking through to the second level of Immortal Foundation. He even sent people to the Evergreen Kingdom to gather news about Qing'e, wanting to know if Qing'e was doing well or not. He learned that after Qing'e broke through to Immortal Foundation, she was taken away by her master GD. For the next few years, he and Qingqing roamed many particle worlds, seeing the different sceneries and comprehending many things. And during these 7 years, the Dongshangshan Gate would often launch probing attacks against the Immortal Qianbian Gate. Both sides suffered casualties, but the Immortal Qianbian Gate's losses were much greater. Their front lines kept shrinking while the Dongshangshan Gate pressed closer and closer, as though a war was brewing. They might launch an all-out attack on the Immortal Qianbian Gate at any moment. Before the Dongshangshan Gate, which had countless years of foundation, although the Immortal Qianbian Gate had developed very quickly, they were still weak. The major powers of the 13 prefectures all looked down on the Immortal Qianbian Gate. As the headquarters of the Immortal Qianbian Gate, the Cloud Prefecture City was governed very well. The Immortal Qianbian Gate controlled this city very well and set down many rules, wanting to turn the Cloud Prefecture City into a flourishing city like the Southern Phoenix Immortal City. However, this wasn't something that could be accomplished in a day. Without thousands of years of accumulation, it was basically impossible. In the cultivation grounds of the Immortal Qianbian Gate, Qin Wenin was in a treasured cauldron. He stared at Mo Qingqing as he spoke. "Qingqing, your physique has already been tempered to a very high level. I want you to try out the power of the sacred luminance. If you are unable to endure it, I will bring you out immediately. During these 7 years, Mo Qingqing and Qin Wentian's friends didn't slack off in their cultivation. Before this, they were restricted by various conditions in the particle world. But things were different now. Qin Wentian had top-tier cultivation arts, immortal-ranked medicinal pills, and powerful body refinement arts to temper them, improving their physiques. However, the last step required the sacred luminance to remove all impurities from their bodies, allowing them to undergo a perfect metamorphosis. Mo Qingqing nodded lightly. The baptism of the sacred luminance doesn't matter if one's cultivation base is high or low. It's a test of one's physique and will. Qingqing, do your best. If you really can't endure it, you can try again in the future. Qin Wentian was still worried. I know. Mo Qingqing stuck out her tongue at Qin Wentian. A mischievous look could be seen on her face. Okay, you can come down now. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded when he saw Mo Qingqing's expression. After that, Mo Qingqing's body slowly descended into the treasured cauldron. Bzz. Mo Qingqing's body entered the cauldron as she was instantly bathed in the light of the sacred luminance. Arg! A low-sounding scream rang out from Mo Qingqing's mouth, causing Qin Wentian's body to stiffen as he walked closer to Mo Qingqing. Don't! Mo Qingqing screamed at Qin Wentian. The light of the sacred luminance gushed into her body, wanting to destroy it. She gritted her teeth, and although she wanted to endure it with all her might, she couldn't help but to let out cries of pain, as though she was enduring a terrifying torture. Qingqing. Qin Wentian clenched his fists tightly, feeling pain in his heart. It was Mo Qingqing who took the initiative to request to bathe in the sacred luminance earlier because she was very anxious. She saw that the cultivation bases of those from the immortal Qianbian Gate were so strong, and Qin Wentian was getting stronger and stronger as well. She was extremely anxious in her heart. Qin Wentian knew that although she didn't say it out loud, she was actually very eager to catch up to him. She was extremely hardworking in her cultivation, and other than the time she spent with him, she would spend all her time cultivating. I can endure it. Mo Qingqing's white dress fluttered in the wind, her body felt as though it was about to be torn apart. She stared at Qin Wentian, her gaze was as resolute as ever. Her dainty fists were tightly clenched as her entire body trembled unceasingly. Qin Wentian nodded heavily. Being able to endure the pain in his heart was already an extremely good thing. Qin Wentian did his best to conceal the pain in his heart, forcing himself to maintain a smile on his face as he encouraged Mo Qingqing. Upon seeing his smile, Mo Qingqing's beautiful countenance also smiled, but her body trembled even more violently. Arg. Even when Qin Wentian was bathing in the sacred luminance, he didn't feel that time was passing so slowly. When he saw Mo Qingqing enduring the unbearable pain, he felt as though his heart was being sliced by a knife. There were many times when he wanted to carry Mo Qingqing out, but she would always use her gaze to stop him. Qin Wentian could even sense that there were many times when Mo Qingqing was on the verge of collapsing. This conviction was none other than him, Qin Wentian. After what felt like an extremely long time, Qin Wentian was already beside Mo Qingqing. He didn't use any strength in his arms as he hugged her. Crystalline tears could be seen at the corners of Mo Qingqing's eyes. She was truly in pain. This pain was like she was enduring the torture of purgatory. But for the sake of Qin Wentian, she had to persevere. Finally, the effects of the sacred luminance began to take effect, tempering her body, causing every part of Mo Qingqing's body to undergo a miraculous transformation. When everything ended, Mo Qingqing stared at Qin Wentian and smiled. Qin Wentian carried her out of the treasured cauldron, hugging her tightly. I've succeeded. Mo Qingqing smiled sweetly. After that, she fainted in Qin Wentian's embrace. Although she had endured the most unbearable pain, her will was already on the verge of collapse. She had exhausted all of her mental energy and could finally relax at this moment. She had no way to persevere any longer. You've succeeded. Qin Wentian stared at the fainted Mo Qingqing, but he still hugged her tightly. He bent over and kissed Imo Qingqing's forehead before he carried her away. On the streets of the Cloud Prefecture city, two beautiful maidens could be seen. They were strolling around and would occasionally stop when they saw something they liked. Sister Luo Huan, what do you think Wenyan and Qingqing have been doing these few days? I still wanted to ask them to accompany us to relax. These two maidens were none other than Qin Wentian's elder sister Qin Yao and senior apprentice sister Luo Huan. In Luo Huan's embrace, little rascal was happily lying there, as though he was enjoying himself very much. Maybe they are making babies. Luo Huan giggled, her words causing Qin Yao's face to turn red. Sister Luo Huan was still not acting properly. Right now, the cultivation bases of these two maidens had already stepped into the celestial phenomenon realm. If they were in a particle world, they would definitely be considered as extremely young celestial phenomenon ascendants. Hence, their countenances were still as youthful and beautiful as before. In fact, their demeanor was even more beautiful now that their horizons had been broadened. Come, let's go to a tea house to rest. Luo Huan spoke to Qin Yao when she saw a tea house in front of them. The two of them entered the tea house and found a good seat. They ordered a pot of tea as they stared at the people below. The immortal realms are truly too flourishing. Just a street here is even longer than my Sky Harmony City. Qin Yao smiled as she stared at the scenery below. You still remember Sky Harmony City? Luo Huan's beautiful eyes gleamed. Back then I met Wenyan there. At that time he was still a little fellow. Who would have thought that our lives would undergo such a huge change? Yeah, these years are like a dream. Who knows, we might even have a chance to become immortals in the future. Qin Yao smiled sweetly. In the past, she thought that heavenly dipper sovereigns were already high and mighty existences. Who would have thought that she had already broken through to the celestial phenomenon realm? Two misses, can we have a cup of tea together? At this moment, a voice drifted over from the side. Luo Huan and Qin Yao turned their gazes over, only to see a few young men with extraordinary auras seated there. One of them had a demonic gleam in his eyes as he stared at Luo Huan and Qin Yao. No. Qin Yao wanted to reject, but the demonic gleam in the eyes of the young man grew even more demonic. Her gaze gradually turned blurry as she nodded her head. Sure. Luo Huan frowned as she called out, Qin Yao. As she spoke, she turned her gaze over. After which, her expression turned the same as Qin Yao's. Her beautiful eyes lost their original luster as she lightly nodded her head. You guys can come over. Many thanks to the two misses. The few young men walked over to the table where Qin Yao and Luo Huan were seated. One of them asked, May I ask for the name of this young miss, and what is your relationship with Qin Wenyan? My name is Qin Yao. Wenyan is my younger brother. Qin Yao replied in a daze. My name is Luo Huan. I'm the senior apprentice sister of Qin Wenyan. Roar! Little rascal felt that something was wrong. A low-sounding roar rang out from its mouth as it stared at the young man in front of it. Imichem? Only now did that young man notice little rascal. The look in his eyes grew even more demonic. Bizizi. Little rascal abruptly lunged forward. Abruptly, sharp claws appeared on its body as it slashed towards the head of the young man. The eyes of the young man gleamed with a terrifying light. In an instant, little rascal felt as though he was trapped in a dimension, unable to extricate himself. Vile beast! A voice rang out in his mind. Little rascal howled in rage as his body expanded in size. A rumbling aura gushed forth, causing the entire tea house to collapse. The other two young men directly brought Luo Huan and Qin Yao away with lightning speed. Trapped. The young man in front of little rascal roared in a low voice. Little rascal felt as though he was trapped in a mental prison. He frenziedly attacked, yet he couldn't break free. He unceasingly let out heaven-shaking roars, causing a commotion. That young man transformed into a gust of wind and sped away. Evidently, he knew that the situation wasn't good. The pet he had neglected was actually a demonic immortal. From afar, the patrolling experts of the immortal Qianbian Gate sped over with extreme speed. During this period of time, the immortal Qinbian Gate had been doing their best to govern the Cloud Prefecture, and there were very few disturbances. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar rang out. Little Rascal struggled free from the mental prison of the other party, floating in the air. However, the other party had already vanished. Within the immortal Qinbian Gate, Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness as his heart sank. He could sense Little Rascal's telepathy. He had sent Little Rascal to follow Luo Huan and Qin Yao because he wanted to protect them. But now, it seemed that something had happened. Chapter 1085. Within the Cloud Prefecture City, the experts of the immortal Qinbian Gate started to move, sealing the entire city. In fact, they even imposed a flight ban, forbidding anyone from flying in the air. The ones who were captured were Qin Yao and Luo Huan, the elder sister and senior apprentice sister of Qin Wenin. Also, Qin Wenin had always been known as the personal disciple of the Emperor Qinbian. This was no small matter, and there was an 80% to 90% chance that the Dongshengshan Gate was the one who did this. During these years, the immortal Qinbian Gate and Dongshengshan Gate had always been in conflict. However, as the headquarters of the immortal Qinbian Gate, the Cloud Prefecture City had never been provoked by the Dongshengshan Gate before. If it was the Dongshengshan Gate, this would be the first time. Extreme times naturally required extreme measures. For a period of time, many immortal legions were patrolling the skies. Other than the people of the immortal Qinbian Gate, no one was allowed to fly in the air. The people of the Cloud Prefecture City were all very cooperative. The immortal Qinbian Gate had been building a flourishing capital city for the past few years. Everyone in the Cloud Prefecture City knew of this, and since such a thing happened, they naturally had to investigate it. Sadly, the influence of the immortal Qinbian Gate in the Cloud Prefecture City was still not strong enough. If something like this happened in the southern Phoenix Immortal City, the Namhuang clan would be able to capture the culprit in the shortest time possible. At this moment, Qin Wenyan stood in the airspace above the Cloud Prefecture City. Little Rascal's body grew larger, exuding a terrifying baleful aura. You are saying that the culprit is proficient in illusory techniques and can cause people to lose themselves? Qin Wenyan frowned as he listened to Little Rascal's narration. Little Rascal replied, "They wanted to bring people away without anyone noticing. They might not have noticed me earlier." In that case, if you weren't here, Sister Qin Yao and Senior Apprentice Sister would have taken the initiative to leave with them without anyone noticing. Qin Wentian's face was livid. Yunzhou City was under tight control now, but if the other party had the ability to confuse people, they could indeed take people out of Yunzhou City without a sound. Yes, but my roar alerted the patrolling guards. They shouldn't have left the Cloud Prefecture City yet. Little Rascal blamed himself. "It's all my fault." "It's not your fault. Since the other party dared to sneak into the Cloud State City, it was only a matter of time before they got into trouble." Qin Wenyan said faintly. Unless Qin Yao and the rest never stepped out of the immortal Qinbian Gate, there would come a time when they would be plotted against by the other party. In the air, there were countless experts from the immortal Qinbian Gate flying through the air. Occasionally, there would be immortal kings passing by, using their powerful immortal sense to scan the surroundings. However, they still couldn't find the silhouettes of Qin Yao and Luo Huan. "Young Lord Qin." An immortal king stepped over, calling out to Qin Wenyan. "Senior, what's the situation?" Qin Wenyan asked. If the other party didn't leave the Cloud Prefecture City, they must have some sort of special treasure that can block off immortal sense. But young Lord Qin, don't worry. Since they dared to act in the Cloud Prefecture City, even if we have to flip the entire city upside down, we will definitely find them. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the immortal king. The Dongshengshan Gate sent Immortal Foundation experts to act because they knew that immortal kings were too big of a target. They would be targeted the moment they entered the Cloud Prefecture City. I will have to trouble Senior then." Qin Wenyan thanked. The reason why the immortal Qinbian Gate could seal the Cloud Prefecture City so quickly was naturally because of him. They knew that Little Rascal was his demonic beast, hence, they immediately acted after the incident. At this moment, In an ordinary-looking courtyard in the Cloud Prefecture city, a formless energy enveloped the entire space, sealing off the probing of immortal sense. This courtyard was hidden in the midst of a chain of buildings. No matter how many experts the immortal Qianbian Gate had, it was impossible for them to search through every single building. Given how vast the immortal realms were, with a population of over 10 billion in the Cloud Prefecture city, it was as difficult as ascending the heavens if they wanted to use their eyes to search for people. In the room, the young men who appeared in the tea house earlier were all there. Their expressions were all extremely unsightly to behold. "Senior brother, what should we do?" Someone asked the person who acted against Qin Yao and Luo Huan earlier. "Damn, we neglected a demonic beast." A person beside him spoke in a depressed tone. If it wasn't for that demonic beast, they would have already left the Cloud Prefecture city by the time the people from the immortal Qianbian Gate discovered them. Let's wait and see. If it's not impossible, we can only give up on them. That person turned his gaze to the two beauties in front of him, Qin Yao and Luo Huan. At this moment, they had already regained consciousness. Their countenances were pale, but they didn't dare to move recklessly. The strength of these people was much stronger compared to them. Earlier when Qin Yao wanted to flee, her robes were torn apart. Right now, her fragrant shoulders were completely exposed as she hugged tightly against Luo Huan. In that case, doesn't that mean that the character master instructed us to capture has failed? One of them was filled with reluctance. It wasn't easy for us to capture the kin of Qin Wenyan and use them to lure Qin Wenyan out. In fact, we only need to hand them over to Qin Wenyan. That would already be considered a great merit. Master would definitely reward us. We won't be able to bring them away. That senior brother spoke. How could he not know that capturing these two women was a great merit? Their master had many disciples and many of them were hidden in the Cloud Prefecture city. It wasn't easy for them to capture these two women. Who would want to give up on this opportunity? That's true. Everyone understood. Right now, there were people from the immortal Qianbian Gate everywhere. Seems like Qin Wenyan regarded these two women with great importance. Such beautiful beauties, should we kill them? That junior brother asked. Wait, let me ask first. That senior brother stared at the two of them as a strange light flashed in his eyes. He then turned to Qin Yao and asked, "Do you have any immortal sense on you?" Qin Yao bit her lips, wanting to maintain her rationality, but she couldn't control her emotions. She replied, "Yes." The eyes of the senior brother flashed. He turned his head and stared at his junior brother. "We can't kill them or our identities will be exposed." "What should we do then? Knock them out and release them? Are we going to leave just like that?" "Senior brother, we spent so much effort and hid for so many years before we finally found an opportunity. I can't accept this. What's there to be unwilling about? No matter what, these two are rare beauties. Let's make it up to you guys." That senior brother spoke, causing Luo Huan and Qin Yao to turn pale. "Qin Yao, kill me quickly." Luo Huan transmitted her voice over. Qin Yao's expression changed as she stared at Luo Huan. Quick! Luo Huan's voice rang out in Qin Yao's mind. Qin Yao's body trembled, yet that senior brother continued. "Do you want them to voluntarily submit or do you want to stimulate them? We will do it ourselves." That senior brother's eyes gleamed as he stared at Luo Huan's ample bosom. His senior brother was right. Since they couldn't bring them away and couldn't kill them, they had to make up for their losses. "I choose this beauty." That junior brother pointed his finger at Luo Huan. Luo Huan was even more alluring, causing the hearts of men to stir. "I choose her." There were some who liked pure and innocent girls like Qin Yao. Conquering such a beauty would surely be an extremely joyful experience. Bizizi! A beam of light flashed as Luo Huan's energy condensed into a dagger, causing the expression of that junior brother to change. However, Luo Huan's dagger was already piercing towards him. "Sister Luo Huan!" Qin Yao exclaimed in shock, only to see that just as Luo Huan's dagger was about to touch her chest, it was grabbed by a gigantic hand. With a twist, a kacha sound rang out from Luo Huan's wrist as the dagger dissipated. Fresh blood flowed from her chest, but this strike wasn't fatal. What a hot beauty! You want to stimulate your immortal sense? Do you think we don't exist? That junior brother grabbed Luo Huan's hands and pinned them against the wall. Staring at that exquisite figure, she was incomparably beautiful, causing an intense fire to burn in the hearts of those who looked at her. If you dare to touch Sister Luo Huan, my younger brother will definitely make sure you die without a burial ground. Qin Yao's eyes were incomparably cold as she stared at that junior brother. You better worry about yourself first. Someone walked towards Qin Yao. Qin Yao was forced to retreat unceasingly as her countenance turned pale. The person who grabbed Luo Huan glanced over as he coldly laughed. After which, a radiant smile appeared on Luo Huan's face as she spoke. Why must you be so crude? If you like it, let me serve you. Staring at the seductive smile on Luo Huan's face, that junior brother's entire body turned even hotter. He spoke in a low voice. You are truly a vixen. Sadly, I don't believe you. After speaking, he placed one of his hands on Luo Huan's shoulder and tore her clothes apart, revealing her snow-white skin. Qin Yao let out a scream as she was forced into a corner. Her face was as pale as a sheet of paper, without any trace of blood. She had already been ordered to hand over all of her storage rings, so she didn't have any strength to resist. Sister Luo Huan. Qin Yao's voice was filled with sobs. Qin Yao, it's fine. Luo Huan consoled. A cold glint flashed in her eyes as a terrifying surge of energy ravaged her body. What are you doing? That junior brother's countenance changed. Luo Huan's energy gushed out from her body and instantly, she coughed out a mouthful of blood. All her meridians and Yuanfu were on the verge of shattering. A strand of immortal sense descended. It was none other than the silhouette of Qin Wenin. That junior brother retreated with an extremely ugly expression on his face as he stared at the strand of immortal sense. That junior brother roared in rage and blasted out a palm strike towards Luo Huan. However, he only saw Qin Wentian's immortal sense blocking in front of Luo Huan. Qin Wenin blasted out a palm strike, but the immortal sense was still blasted away. Junior brother, let's go. That senior brother instantly fled, not even turning his head back. Once their identities were exposed, they would be faced with a life and death crisis. They couldn't afford to waste even a single second. They had to leave with the fastest speed possible. The other junior brother glanced at Qin Yao with reluctance in his eyes. He similarly blasted out a destructive palm strike, slamming Qin Yao into the wall and coughing out fresh blood. Although her immortal sense blocked many attacks for her, Qin Yao still fainted from the impact. Those people no longer cared about Qin Yao and Luo Huan as they fled in a frenzy. Although they only needed a few moments to erase Qin Wentian's immortal sense and kill Qin Yao and Luo Huan, they understood how dangerous this situation was. Senior sister. Qin Wentian's immortal sense embraced Luo Huan's body. Right now, Luo Huan was covered in blood and was on the verge of death. Qin Wentian's fists were clenched tightly as his killing intent towered up into the sky. Little fellow, senior sister is fine. Luo Huan squeezed out a smile. Senior sister, why are you so foolish? Qin Wentian knew what Luo Huan had done. She activated the immortal sense in her body to destroy herself. This was no different from suicide, and almost no one would do such a thing. For those with extraordinary statuses, if they knew that there was a strand of immortal sense in their bodies, they would still have a sliver of hope. Senior sister, how can you allow those people to touch you? Luo Huan's breathing was extremely weak as she laughed weakly. She clearly knew that the other party wouldn't kill her, yet she still used such a method to seek death. She wasn't as seductive as she seemed to be. Who would have thought that such a beautiful woman would view her body as more important than her life? Chapter 1086. Qin Wentian's immortal sense carried Luo Huan and Qin Yao respectively. His body was trembling slightly. For Immortal Foundation experts, their protective immortal sense would be hidden within their bodies and would only be activated during the most dangerous moments. They would possess a portion of the combat prowess of an Immortal Foundation expert. However, this immortal sense would exhaust the energy and origin chi of the Immortal Foundation expert, and the rate of consumption wasn't small at all. Those who possessed the immortal sense of an Immortal Foundation expert were usually those closest to the Immortal Foundation expert. Luo Huan and Qin Yao could sense Qin Wentian's immortal sense because they were the closest people to him. And now, both of them had encountered such an unforeseen event. How could Qin Wentian not feel pain? Senior sister, I will ask the Emperor Lord for help. He will definitely be able to treat your injuries. Qin Wentian's immortal sense carried Luo Huan and walked out. His other immortal sense also carried Qin Yao. Qin Yao's injuries weren't too serious, but Luo Huan had to receive treatment as soon as possible. At this moment, the experts of the Immortal Qianbian Gate were all rushing over. Qin Wentian's immortal sense found an immortal king, and he immediately rushed over to the Immortal Qianbian Gate. And at the same time, Qin Wentian's true self appeared in a certain direction. His immortal sense swept out frenziedly, searching for the people who acted against Luo Huan and Qin Yao. Seal this entire space. Qin Wentian roared. A terrifying aura cascaded down from the sky as an incomparably fearsome law might descended, enveloping a radius of 1,000 miles. It was like a golden screen of light, completely sealing the space. There's someone over there. At this moment, an Immortal Foundation expert pointed to a certain direction. Below, there was a person frantically fleeing for his life, appearing extremely flustered. Bzz. A group of experts rushed over at the same time, their speed akin to bolts of lightning. The person below was indeed one of the people who acted against Qin Yao. These people seemed to have split up and fled in different directions. Clearly, they knew that if they stayed together, they would be a huge target. Also, the person before them wasn't calm enough. If they were to flee in such a panic, they would be discovered easily. However, under such circumstances, it was hard not to panic. Very swiftly, numerous figures descended from the sky, surrounding that person. In an instant, that person's countenance turned ashen. When Luo Huan's immortal sense appeared, they already knew that things were going to be bad. And as expected, they were surrounded. Qin Wentian's body descended from the sky, and a terrifying killing intent swept out. He stared at his opponent, and his whole body was filled with an icy aura. He said coldly, "Who sent you here?" There were a few Immortal Foundation experts in the Cloud Prefecture City, looking for opportunities to act against his kin. Qin Wentian couldn't believe that they came here on their own. Clearly, there was a power behind them, and there was an 80 to 90% chance that they were from the Dongshengshan Gate. The other party stared at Qin Wentian, and there was a hint of demonic feeling in his eyes. At this moment, Qin Wentian had an illusion that he was about to be transported to another dimension and fall into it. Qi, with a flash of light, the other party suddenly launched an attack towards Qin Wentian. Courting death. A dazzling light erupted forth from Qin Wentian as a fearsome might gushed forth. Without the other party's control, the experts in the surroundings all acted, unleashing terrifying attacks. The moment the other party arrived before Qin Wentian, he coughed out blood unceasingly. There were so many experts around him, and the tyrannical might of their attacks seeped into his body. Qin Wentian took a few steps forward, staring at his opponent's eyes. His palm landed on his opponent's chest, and in an instant, a fearsome destructive might gushed into his opponent's body. Arg! That person screamed in agony, "Just kill me! Do you want to die so easily?" Qin Wentian's countenance was ice cold. A fearsome destructive might directly blasted into his opponent's Immortal Foundation, causing the other party to scream in agony. "Speak, whose orders are you listening to?" Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. "So what if you know? Qin Wentian, you have offended His Majesty and you still want to live?" A look of madness appeared on that person's face as he spoke. "Qin Wentian, dealing with you is an order from my master. As long as I can capture you, it would be considered a great merit. In the future, you can just wait to be hunted down. As for whose orders are I listening to, it's none other than my master, the Dream Demon King." Boom. Qin Wentian's palm slammed down once more. Cracking sounds rang out as that person screamed in agony. More and more cracks appeared on his immortal foundation until it finally shattered, completely destroyed. A fearsome sword qi gushed forth from Qin Wentian's palm, ravaging the body of that person. In just a short instant, that person limply laid on the ground. All the meridians in his body were destroyed, and his yuan fu was destroyed. He had already become a cripple, unable to move at all. Since you like the Cloud Prefecture so much, you can just stay here in the future. Qin Wentian turned and soared through the air. This person had almost humiliated Qin Yao. How could Qin Wentian kill him so easily? He wanted to cripple this person and make him stay in the Cloud Prefecture. Even if he wanted to leave, he wouldn't be able to leave unless he decided to commit suicide. Dream Demon King. Qin Wentian's eyes turned to the horizons as his killing intent surged forth. He naturally remembered the Dream Demon King. Back then when he participated in the 100-year immortal banquet at the Dongshangshan Gate, the Dream Demon King was one of the tests. The Dream Demon King allowed him to enter the dreamscape of the Dream Demon King, prying into his secrets. It was extremely dangerous. Although the Dream Demon King seemed to be sleeping, he actually had the ability to kill without anyone noticing. These people in the Cloud Prefecture were actually the disciples of the Dream Demon King. No wonder they had the ability to bewitch others, causing Qin Yao and Luo Huan to listen to their commands. If it wasn't for the fact that little rascal wasn't under their control, the consequences would truly be unimaginable. In the past, among the subordinates of the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, the one Qin Wentian hated the most should be the Deep Flame Immortal King. After that, the Deep Flame Immortal King died in the hands of the White-Robed Immortal King by Wuya. And now, the Dream Demon King has successfully replaced the Deep Flame Immortal King's position, becoming an Immortal King character that Qin Wentian wanted to get rid of. Sadly, in front of an Immortal King, his strength was still too weak. Young Lord Qin over there. At this moment, someone called out to Qin Wentian. In another direction, another person was captured. Qin Wentian sped over and discovered that it was none other than the person who made a move against Luo Huan, causing her to commit suicide. Right now, that person was already heavily injured and was lying weakly on the ground. He stared at Qin Wentian with rage in his eyes. It was precisely because of Qin Wentian's immortal sense that his doomsday had arrived. He doesn't even have the strength to commit suicide. Qin Wentian's voice was so cold that it could pierce one's bones. Yes. The people in the surroundings obeyed. Amidst the screams of agony, the immortal foundation of that person was crippled, his meridians were severed and both his arms were crippled. Qin Wentian departed with an emotionless face. Regardless of who it was, since they dared to do such a thing to his loved ones, he would definitely make that person pay the most painful price. In the air there were many experts. The experts from the immortal Qianbian Gate were still searching for that person. Young Lord Qin, there's still one person we haven't found. He should be hiding somewhere. Even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground, we have to find him. Qin Wentian's voice was ice cold. The person they haven't found was none other than that senior brother of theirs. His cultivation base was the highest, and he was also the one who acted against Qin Yao and Luo Huan in the tea house. The experts from the immortal Qianbian Gate started to do a carpet search. In this sealed area, even if the other party had a treasure that could block out immortal sense, he wouldn't be able to escape. However, even after a long time, the entire area had been searched thoroughly, but they still couldn't find the person. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. Is there a possibility that he changed his appearance? Ordinary disguise techniques wouldn't be able to escape the detection of immortal sense. In addition, we didn't find any treasures that could block out immortal sense. Someone replied, maybe earlier, the other party used a treasure that could traverse through space to escape from this space. He wanted to separate from his companions so that it would be easier for him to escape alone. Maybe. Qin Wentian's expression was still as cold as ever. Everyone, please continue to work hard. Young Lord Qin is too polite. This matter happened in the Cloud Prefecture City. Even if young Lord Qin didn't say anything, we would still do our best to search for him. Someone replied. All the experts began to expand the search radius of the Cloud Prefecture city. However, after an entire day, they still couldn't find anyone. In the vast Cloud Prefecture city, if a person intentionally wanted to hide, it would be extremely difficult to find them. Naturally, everyone understood that the other party must not be having a good time now. He must be hiding in fear and trepidation. If he was the slightest bit careless and was captured, only death would await him. It was impossible for the Cloud Prefecture city to restrict the airspace forever. Qin Wenyan also understood that since they couldn't find him on the first day, it would be even more difficult to find him later on. Qin Wenyan first returned to the immortal Qianbian Gate. In the Monarch Palace, the Emperor of Qianbian brought Luo Huan and Qin Yao along as they appeared before Qin Wenyan. Upon seeing his senior sister Luo Huan smiling at him, a radiant smile also appeared in Qin Wentian's eyes. Your senior sister's injuries are slightly more serious. Luckily, her cultivation base is still weak and it isn't too hard to save her. I've already helped her reconstruct her meridians. As for your sister, there aren't any major problems. Emperor of Qianbian spoke. Many thanks, Emperor of Qianbian. Qin Wenyan bowed to the Emperor of Qianbian, feeling extremely grateful. Outsiders might think that the Emperor of Qianbian was his master, but he himself understood that the Emperor of Qianbian had no relationship with him. Since the Emperor of Qianbian was willing to help him, Qin Wenyan naturally wouldn't feel that it was a given. He was filled with gratitude in his heart. No worries. Emperor of Qianbian shook his head. Senior sister, Sister Qin Yao. Qin Wenyan walked to the front of Luo Huan and Qin Yao, feeling as though he was about to cry tears of joy. Luckily, they were fine or he would definitely feel guilty. Little brat, your senior sister didn't even lose a piece of flesh. What are you looking at? Luo Huan giggled, as cheerful as ever. You will know after a hug. Qin Wenyan hugged Luo Huan and Qin Yao. The two of them rolled their eyes, but their beautiful eyes were filled with smiles. All right, the Emperor of Qianbian is here. Qin Yao spoke in a low voice. Qin Wenyan released the two of them, only to see Luo Huan and Qin Yao bowing to the Emperor of Qianbian. Emperor of Qianbian, we are eternally grateful for your life-saving grace. The Emperor of Qianbian waved his hands as he stared at Qin Wenyan. Wenyan, although nothing happened this time around, you have to be more careful in the future. I'm sure you understand that as long as the Dongshengshan Gate isn't destroyed, something like this might happen again. Qin Wenyan nodded his head, hating himself for being too weak. Emperor of Qianbian, I wish to head to the front lines. Qin Wenyan spoke, his words causing the eyes of the Emperor of Qianbian to flicker. The Dongshengshan Gate has a total of 7 prefectures, while my immortal Qianbian Gate has a total of 6 prefectures. During these few years, there have been countless wars, and the main reason for the war is at the border of the 13 prefectures. That place is extremely dangerous. Do you really want to go there? Emichim. Qin Wenyan nodded. He could temper himself on the battlefield. Chapter 1087. Upon seeing Qin Wenyan nodding, the Emperor of Qianbian stared at him as he slowly spoke. The battlefield isn't like the Cloud Prefecture, it's a leisurely place. The slightest carelessness would result in death. Wenyan, if you step onto the battlefield, you will be treated equally and you will have to accompany the troops to battle. Right now, your strength is still weak and you have no merits to show. I can't be biased and allow you to lead an army. Do you understand? I'm willing to start from the bottom. Qin Wenyan solemnly spoke. Since he had decided to step onto the battlefield, he would naturally follow the rules of the battlefield. Fine, you will head to the border between the Thunder Prefecture and the Jing Prefecture. Yuan City is a place where our troops are stationed and battles are frequent there. The people of the Dongshengshan Gate have always wanted to use that place to break through, continuously whittling down the number of immortal foundation troops of our immortal Qianbian Gate. After that, they would seize the opportunity to take over the Thunder Prefecture. Right now, Yuan City is under the control of the Dream Demon King and the situation is extremely disadvantageous to us. You have to be careful when you arrive there. The Emperor of Qianbian spoke. Qin Wendian nodded. Wenyan understands. MHM, make your preparations. We will set off a month later. The Emperor of Qianbian spoke. Qin Wenyan bade farewell and retreated, bringing Luo Huan and Qin Yao with him as they left the Emperor Palace. Wenyan, are you really preparing to go to the battlefield? Qin Yao pulled on Qin Wentian's arm as she asked. Although she had never seen the battlefield of immortals before, she knew how powerful Immortal Foundation experts were. Just thinking about it, one could already imagine how terrifying it would be. The Dream Demon King is also there. He would definitely bring his disciples and grand-disciples along. I naturally have to go. Qin Wentian's countenance turned cold. Sister Qin Yao, Sister Luo Huan, the one who acted against you two is none other than the disciple of the Dream Demon King. Little brat, you have to be more careful when you go to the battlefield. Don't act recklessly. Luo Huan rolled her eyes at Qin Wenyan. Yes, senior sister, Qin Wendian answered honestly. Hee, it's good that you know. Accompany Qingqing for these few days and we will temporarily let you off. Luo Huan laughed. The two of them separated from Qin Wenyan. Only little rascal was still following behind Qin Wenyan. We're going to separate again. Qin Wendian sighed. During these 7 years, he didn't leave Qingqing's side at all. When he roamed the particle worlds, he would always be together with Qingqing, living a carefree life. However, in the immortal realms, parting was a common thing. In fact, many people would be separated by life and death. Hence, for those with good talent, they would only find Dao companions and have children after they reached the Immortal King realm. Qin Wenyan returned to his residence and told Qingqing about this matter. Qingqing, who had already woken up, naturally wouldn't obstruct Qin Wenyan. She smiled at Qin Wenyan. Go ahead, I will do my best in cultivation. After the baptism of the sacred luminance, I feel that my body is much stronger than before. I will definitely be able to step into the immortal realm like you sooner or later. Qin Wenyan cupped Qingqing's face with his hands and smiled. You have to work hard then. I won't wait for you. Who needs you to wait? Who knows, I might even surpass you. Mo Qingqing smiled sweetly. Is that so? I'm filled with anticipation then. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a bright light. He stared at Mo Qingqing's perfect face, not moving his eyes at all. Mo Qingqing blushed from his stare as she asked in a low voice, What are you doing? I'm thinking my wife is already so perfect and flawless now. If she stepped into the Immortal Foundation realm and became an immortal maiden, how beautiful would she be? Wouldn't she be mesmerizing to death? Qin Wenyan had a look of contemplation on his face, his words causing Mo Qingqing to smile as she stared at Qin Wenyan. That's right, you should cherish this miss well. Okay, I will cherish you well right now. Qin Wendian stretched his hands out and embraced Mo Qingqing, before carrying her into the room. Mo Qingqing screamed in shock and struggled, but how could she be compared to Qin Wenyan? She could only wrap her arms around Qin Wentian's neck as her beautiful eyes stared at him, filled with tenderness and shyness. That soul-stirring countenance caused Qin Wentian's heart to pound. Qingqing, you are so beautiful. Qin Wendian spoke in a low voice. Mo Qingqing's face turned even redder as she buried her head into Qin Wentian's embrace, hugging him tightly. In the depths of their love, they were unable to extricate themselves. A month later, Qin Wendian, Jun Mingchen, Zi Qingxian, Purgatory and Little Rascal brought the military documents of the immortal Qianbian Gate and arrived at Yuan City. Yuan City was located at the border of the Thunder Prefecture. Outside of it was a stretch of desolate wilderness and there was also a Yuan River. This Yuan River was said to be 100,000 miles long, separating the Thunder Prefecture and the Jing Prefecture. In the past, the Dongshangshan Gate governed the 13 prefectures. The Thunder Prefecture and Jing Prefecture were divided by the river, not interfering with each other. But now, the Emperor of Qianbian controlled 6 prefectures. The Thunder Prefecture and Jing Prefecture became enemies. The Dongshangshan Gate gathered a terrifying army of immortals and stationed them at the border of the Jing Prefecture, constantly launching probing attacks against Yuan City. This battlefield has already lasted for several years, and the border between the two cities became a burial ground for immortals. Many mortals below the immortal foundation realm have already moved away in case they were affected by the shockwaves of the battle. However, there were still some immortals who stayed behind, wanting to take a look at this immortal war that lasted for many years. Right now, the governor of Yuan City was Governor Niu. Everyone referred to him as General Niu. He was a powerful immortal king character, and as for his real name, not many people knew of it. In the general residence, Qin Wenyan saw this General Niu. He was 3 meters tall and had a huge physique. His entire body seemed to be filled with explosive power. Even though he was wearing a long robe, one could still see the outline of his muscular body. Also, Qin Wenyan could easily sense the aura of the Heavenly Talisman realm from him. This General Niu was a disciple of the Heavenly Talisman realm and would definitely be extremely powerful. The Dream Demon King was a famous general under the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. The fact that General Niu was stationed here meant that he was fighting against the Dream Demon King. If he wasn't strong enough, the Dream Demon King might even kill him. If he killed the commander of the enemy forces, was there even a need for this war to continue? General. Qin Wenyan passed the jade slip given to him by the Emperor Qianbian to General Niu. He didn't refer to General Niu as senior brother. This place was a battlefield and General Niu was the commander. General Niu glanced at the jade slip before casting a deep glance at Qin Wenyan and the others. After that, he nodded his head and spoke, "Men, come." As the sound of his voice faded, a person walked over. General Niu spoke to this person, "Make arrangements for them. Arrange them to be under the command of a certain centurion." That person acknowledged. He then turned to Qin Wenyan and the others, "Follow me." Qin Wenyan nodded and followed the other party to where the army was staying. Although this was a battlefield, the place they were staying at was still not bad. There was a long stretch of buildings that stretched as far as the eye could see. Yiqing. The person leading Qin Wenyan and the others came to a courtyard and called out. Very swiftly, an immortal foundation expert clad in flaming armor walked out. Her figure was voluptuous and her features were elegant. Although she couldn't be considered a supreme beauty, she was still quite good-looking. Clad in armor, she exuded a valiant aura, exuding a majestic aura. "I pay my respects to the military supervisor." Yi Qing bowed. "Captain Yi, I will leave these fellows to you." That military supervisor pointed to Qin Wenyan and the others as he spoke. Yi Qing glanced at Qin Wenyan and the others before nodding, "Yes. You guys can follow Captain Yi." The military supervisor spoke. Qin Wenyan and the others nodded. Yi Qing brought them into the courtyard. There were individual rooms inside. Many people walked out and asked, "Captain, are there new people?" "There are actually beauties." A person's eyes gleamed with light as he stared at Zi Qingxian and Purgatory. Yi Qing was already quite beautiful, but Zi Qingxian and Purgatory were even rarer beauties. "Restrain yourself." Yi Qing glared at that person. That person immediately replied, "Yes, Captain." "What are your names?" Yi Qing asked. "Captain, my name is Tianwen." Qin Wenyan spoke, using an alias on the battlefield. After all, his status in the immortal Qianbian Gate wasn't low. If these people were from the core of the immortal Qianbian Gate, they would all know of his name. He didn't want to enjoy special treatment, and secondly, he wanted to prevent the people from the Dongshengsheng Gate from taking special care of him. If that was the case, he would be in an extremely miserable state on the battlefield. "My name is Junmingchen." "My name is Zi Qingxian." "Purgatory." "My name is Little Rascal." Little Rascal spoke in a baby-like voice, causing a smile to appear on Yi Qing's face. Little Rascal was so adorable. However, she still maintained a straight face. "Tin, your cultivation bases are all very low. On the battlefield, don't be a burden to your comrades. Now, I will get the others to coordinate with you guys to familiarize yourselves with our battle formation." "Yes, Captain." Qin Wenyan nodded in agreement. Someone leaned against the wall and spoke in a lazy tone. "Captain Yi Qing, the cultivation bases of these people are too low. Even if they joined the battle formation, they wouldn't be of much use. There's no need to waste everyone's time. How young? Since Tianwen and the rest have joined our team, there's a need for them to familiarize themselves with the battle formation. On the battlefield, there might be deaths at any moment. If they join the battle formation, it would be even more dangerous. Yi Qing coldly spoke, not polite at all. Yes, Captain. Hao Yang nodded, but there was still a look of disdain in his eyes. You guys go and find a place to stay first. After that, gather at the drill grounds. Yi Qing spoke to Tianwen and the rest. Qin Wentian and the rest nodded. Their immortal senses swept out, and after that, they headed towards a courtyard. Jun Mingchen smiled. Captain is a heroine among females. Although she isn't as beautiful as senior sister Qingxian, she has a unique sense of beauty. Lower your voice. Qin Wentian glared at Jun Mingchen. Hee, but everyone seems to feel that our cultivation bases are too low. Jun Mingchen mumbled. This is an immortal war. The weakest among us are all Immortal Foundation experts. Don't you think our cultivation bases are too low? Let's face reality and perform well on the battlefield. Qin Wentian spoke. Understood. Jun Mingchen felt anticipation in his heart. In the drill grounds, many experts gathered. There were over 100 of them, and there were even some who mumbled, "AI, Captain, the overall strength of our team is already weaker. Now that there are newcomers, why didn't the army overseer send more powerful people to join us? Fellows with such a cultivation base wouldn't be able to increase the overall strength of our team." Shut up. If you have the time, think about how to survive on the battlefield. Yi Qing berated. I know, but I'm afraid that those fellows wouldn't even be able to last a single battle. What a pity, there are still 2 beauties among them. These people discussed. They were happy that there were beauties joining them, but their cultivation bases were too low. This caused them to feel depressed. It would be great if there were a few powerful ones joining them. With that, the combat prowess of their team would increase, reducing the chances of them dying. The weaker a team was, the higher the chances of them dying on the battlefield. Chapter 1088. On the drill ground, Qin Wentian and the others were familiarizing themselves with the battle formations. There were many types of battle formations. For their 100-man team, there was also a 10,000-man battle formation. Using square formations as the foundation, they could form an extremely powerful 10,000-man battle formation, exuding boundless might. However, there were no actual 10,000-man battle formations here. Only Qin Wentian's 100-man team was here. The comprehension abilities of immortals were all very high. As long as they understood how a battle formation worked, they would be able to unleash their full potential. The battle formation of the immortal Qianbian Gate was known as the Ox-Head Battle Formation. It was an extremely powerful battle formation passed down by General Ox and had boundless might. Tianwen, Jun Mingchen, how do you guys feel? After the battle, everyone stopped. Yi Qing asked Qin Wentian. Captain, there's no problem. Qin Wentian replied. For a combined battle formation, there was no need for the individual to be too strong in the Tao of formations. If not, how could everyone form a formation? Jun Mingchen and the others nodded. Yi Qing continued, this battlefield is extremely dangerous. Don't leave the city if there's nothing important. You guys might be hunted by the enemy at any time. If there's no battle, you guys should cultivate yourselves or spar with others to raise your combat prowess. Do you understand? Yes, Captain. Jun Mingchen replied in a loud voice, causing Yi Qing to glance at him. Jun Mingchen grinned. Little fellows, the battlefield isn't a joke. Be more serious or you might lose your life at any time. An older middle-aged Immortal Foundation expert persuaded. My name is Xiao Yihan, I'm your vice-captain. Where are you guys from? We come from the Cloud Prefecture City, the Immortal Qianbian Gate, Qin Wentian replied in a low voice. The eyes of everyone flickered as they turned to Qin Wentian. Xiao Yihan also spoke. You guys are from the Immortal Qianbian Gate, but why were you sent to our team? Captain Xiao, what do you mean by this? Qin Wentian curiously asked. You don't know? Captain Xiao stared at Qin Wenin as he laughed involuntarily. Seems like the few of you are unimportant disciples. You don't even know this? In the army, there aren't that many from the immortal Qianbian Gate. You guys aren't from the immortal Qianbian Gate? Jun Mingchen started. He had thought that they were from the immortal Qianbian Gate. There's an army of 100,000 Immortal Foundation experts on this battlefield, and this is only one of the many battlefields. The Thousand Transformations Immortal Sect can't be compared to the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect. The Eastern Sage Immortal Sect has many years of foundation and has established many armies. The ones who came here today are none other than the Dream Demon Army of the Dream Demon King. But even so, the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect would still recruit people to fight for them. No way, Captain Xiao, are you still willing to join the battle? Jun Mingchen asked. Brat, are you really stupid or are you pretending to be? Xiao Yihan glared at Jun Mingchen and said, or are you a disciple of a famous sect? I'm an unaffiliated cultivator. If I want to obtain cultivation resources, I have to depend on myself or join a major power. Also, if you aren't from the direct line of descent, even if you join a major power, you still have to depend on your contribution points to exchange for cultivation resources. Unless you are a supreme genius, you might as well come to the battlefield and use your contribution points to exchange for cultivation resources. Right now, I'm at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation. Do you know how terrifying the amount of cultivation resources I need to break through to the 8th level and perfect my Immortal Foundation? To me, this is an astronomical figure. Without any fortuitous encounters, the fastest way is to obtain battle merits on the battlefield. Of course, there are many powerful people who, in addition to fighting for battle achievements, temper themselves at the same time. There are even some people from aristocratic families who will enter the battlefield to train themselves, improving themselves in life and death situations. True experts all desire to constantly temper their own combat strength, making themselves stronger. Xiao Yihan solemnly continued, and as for me, I've always wanted to become an immortal king character, establishing a major power and becoming a sect leader. However, this goal is a little difficult. Qin Wendian stared at Xiao Yihan. Although Xiao Yihan had the appearance of a middle-aged man, his age shouldn't be young. Most probably, he was at least a few thousand years old. His eyes flashed with the vicissitudes of life. Indeed, the vast majority of the people he met in the immortal realms were all geniuses. Because he himself was a genius, he didn't see those ordinary people who struggled hard. Everyone had their own life experiences, and who didn't experience wind and frost on the path to becoming an expert? For those who were satisfied with their current situation, they could simply head to a weaker particle world and become a hegemon. But if you want to grow stronger, you can only continue fighting hard in the immortal realms, fighting together with experts. Wouldn't it be easy for spies to sneak in? Zi Qingxian asked in a low voice. So what? A person at the side spoke. When the war starts, there will be immortal kings supervising the battles. Characters at the immortal king level wouldn't be able to attract the attention of others. They are all from the immortal Qianbian Gate or the Dongshengshan Gate. Would you dare to kill your own people? Immortal kings would instantly kill you. As for wanting to rebel within the army, are you tired of living? Indeed. Qin Wendian nodded. This is the first time the few of us are participating in an immortal war. How would it be conducted? With immortal kings around, wouldn't Immortal Foundation experts be unable to withstand a single strike? This is just like the Dongshengshan Gate and the immortal Qianbian Gate. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor and the Emperor Ox would definitely have roughly the same level of strength. If not, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor wouldn't have ceded 6 prefectures. However, they wouldn't interfere in the war between the two or they would die together. It's the same for immortal wars as well. The strength of the Dream Demon King and General Ox would definitely be roughly the same, but neither of them would be able to defeat the other. If not, there would be no need for the war to continue, they could just directly kill the commander of the other party. Xiao Yihan explained. Hence, the immortal wars in the immortal realms all have strict rules. When immortal kings clash, immortal emperors are not allowed to interfere. When armies of Immortal Foundation experts clash, immortal kings are not allowed to interfere. If not, the Immortal Foundation experts of both sides would all die. If the Immortal Foundation experts of the other side are annihilated, the Immortal Foundation experts of both sides would have to fight. If the Immortal Foundation experts couldn't win, the Immortal Foundation experts wouldn't need to fight. What about those who broke the rules and killed Immortal Foundation experts? Jun Mingchen asked. That would be killing for the sake of killing. If one side did so, wouldn't the immortal kings of the other side enter the territory of the other side to hunt their Immortal Foundation experts? By doing so, the eyes of both sides would be filled with killing intent. In the end, no one would be able to control the situation. Xiao Yihan continued, experts who could cultivate to the Immortal Emperor realm are all very arrogant. They wouldn't dare to violate the rules. In addition, both sides would have some trepidation in their hearts. Naturally, if there are extremely important people in the other side's army, it would be a different story. Understood. Many thanks for Captain's guidance. Qin Wendian clasped his hands. Seems like he still had to disguise himself when he entered the battlefield. If not, he might be recognized by the immortal kings of the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect. Who knows, they might act to kill him. Right now, he was someone that the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect had to kill. A battlefield is a battlefield, the rules are very strict. Even enemies have to follow the rules. Jun Mingchen shook his head. This is the immortal realms and the participants are all immortals. There would naturally be rules and no one would engage in a massacre. Back then, the Emperor of Qianbian asked the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor for the 6 prefectures. After the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor fought to a draw with the Emperor of Qianbian, didn't he directly hand over the 6 prefectures? In addition, the Emperor of Qianbian also agreed that as long as the Dongshengshan Gate can defeat the Emperor of Qianbian within 100 years, the Emperor of Qianbian would have to hand over the 6 prefectures and leave. These are the rules between immortal emperors. Yi Qing walked up and spoke. Naturally, you have to understand that the precondition of the rules is that both sides have equal strength. If not, if one day the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor could kill the Emperor of Qianbian, would there still be a need for the rules to be followed? The immortal Qianbian Gate would definitely vanish and be razed to the ground. The captain is right. Actually, if we talk about the rules, both sides would still be able to keep each other in check, not daring to act recklessly. But if a peak character of one side is killed, the one who is stronger would be the one who rules. In the end, it's still better to speak with your fists. Jun Mingchen spoke. The group of them were chatting when all of a sudden, the sound of a bugle horn rang out. Yi Qing's countenance changed as she listened attentively. After 3 blasts, her countenance turned exceptionally heavy. She glanced at Qin Wenin and the others and spoke, "You guys are truly lucky. On your first day here, the bugle horn has already sounded 3 times. What do you mean? Qin Wendian asked. 100,000 troops, all of you are to fight. Yi Qing spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash. It's hard to differentiate between friend and foe on the battlefield. Wear the armor of our side and fight. Yes. Qin Wenin and the others donned the armor Yi Qing gave them. After that, over 100 of them soared up into the air. They saw countless supreme experts appearing in the air at the same time. This scene was like the end of the world, terrifying to the extreme. A supreme might swept over everything, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. What a terrifying might! Jun Mingchen exclaimed in shock. 100,000 immortal soldiers, a single roar is sufficient to shatter mountains and rivers. Qin Wentian's heart pounded. If an army of 100,000 were to roar in anger, even immortal kings would be affected by it. Boom! In the air, a terrifying beam of light descended as a 10,000-meter tall figure appeared. This figure was incomparably sturdy and even in front of the army of 100,000, he was so dazzling that everyone could clearly see his silhouette. This man was none other than the Commander-in-Chief, General Niu. He swept his gaze over, staring at the formation below as he spoke, "Get into formation, we are moving out." His voice rumbled, resounding through the air. After that, the experts all moved out in an orderly fashion. Those who saw this scene from afar all felt their hearts trembling as their souls trembled. This scene was too impactful. An army of 100,000 sped out of the city, causing yellow sand to fill the air. They advanced in an orderly fashion and there was some distance between them. After all, this was an army of immortals. Once a battle broke out, they would need space. Up ahead, a terrifying storm of aura could be felt gushing over. Everyone knew that this was the army of the Dongshengshan Gate. Both sides would definitely have scouts that could predict the movements of the other side in advance. If not, it would be very easy for them to fall into a passive situation. Also, these scouts might have been hiding in the city of the other side, pretending to be ordinary people. Chapter 1089. From afar, the silhouette of a giant also appeared in the air. This giant was tens of thousands of meters tall and was incomparably terrifying. He seemed to be in a deep slumber in the air, quietly lying there. This was none other than the Dream Demon Immortal King. The Dongshengshan Gate also had an army of 100,000 immortals. The experts from both sides stared at each other from afar as they all halted their advance. The terrifying might exuding from the two armies truly felt like the end of the world. It was too terrifying. An army of 200,000 stood on this boundlessly vast land. Not only that, they were all immortals. Qin Wenin, Jun Mengchen, Purgatory, Zi Qingxian and the others were all within the army. However, other than wearing the armor of the immortal Qiandian Gate, they were also clad in unique divine armors. These armors were obtained by Qin Wenin from the Battle Saint tribe. When they wore them, their auras would be masked, only immortal light could be seen circulating around them. At the same time, they also had malevolent-looking masks on their faces that had the ability to block out immortal senses, preventing others from seeing their facial features. As for Little Rascal, he transformed into a ferocious white tiger mount. His size caused Yi Qing to look at him in a new light. However, she didn't say anything about Qin Wendian and the others dressing up like this. Within this army of 200,000, regardless of whether it was the army of the Dongshengshan Gate or the army of the immortal Qiandian Gate, there were countless of such people who hid themselves. This was a war between immortal sects. What if they were targeted by others for revenge? Even in Yi Qing's team, there were many such people. It was just that Yi Qing was a little surprised that Qin Wendian and the others were so cautious. Captain, how do we calculate the military merits? Jun Mengchen asked Yi Qing. Do you see the immortal kings beside General Niu? There are immortal kings supervising the battle. Their immortal senses can scan the entire battlefield and imprint the scenes in their minds. They would know how many enemies you have killed. Yi Qing spoke. Jun Mengchen inclined his head and indeed, there were several immortal kings beside General Niu. Immortal kings were incomparably powerful. Their immortal senses could scan the entire battlefield and they could analyze countless scenes in an instant. A single immortal king was sufficient to calculate the military merits. The entire army is fighting, even immortal kings are mobilized. General Niu is personally supervising the battle. Xiao Yihan sighed. Brothers, be careful. This is the first time we are experiencing such a large-scale battle. Seems like you guys have recruited many new troops. The Dream Demon King was still in slumber, but his voice rang out in the minds of everyone. However, a bunch of weaklings actually dared to start a war against the army of my Eastern Sage Immortal sect to gain merit points. Today, let me warn all of you that there are some things you can't do. If you do, you have to be prepared to pay the price. The Dream Demon King's voice was filled with coldness, causing the hearts of the crowd to tremble. Stop trying to bewitch me. General Ox spoke. His voice was incomparably resounding through the sky. Immortals of the immortal realms are all focused on the path of cultivation. If they don't temper themselves through life and death situations, how can they break through? Isn't it a good idea to use the blood of your Dongshengshan Gate army to pay tribute to the path of true experts? Boasting shamelessly. Today, I will make sure you remember this battle. The voice of the Dream Demon King rang out once more. Beside the Dream Demon King, another immortal king grew in size as he spoke. Flame Army, step out. As the sound of his voice faded, a troop of 1,000 soldiers walked out from the Dongshengshan Gate's army. These 1,000 soldiers were all clad in flaming armors. The dark flames around them were extremely terrifying. This army belongs to the Deep Flame Immortal King. After the Deep Flame Immortal King died, the Deep Flame army under him was distributed to the various immortal kings. Right now, there is only one of them and their combat prowess is extremely high. It can be considered a trump card. Yi Qing's expression turned heavy. The Eastern Sage Immortal Sect directly sent out the Flame Army to fight. If the Immortal Qianbian Gate agreed to it, they would need to send out a troop of 1,000 soldiers. If not, it would mean that they didn't dare to fight and would weaken their morale. They are all elites at the higher levels of Immortal Foundation. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Seems like this was a troop of 1,000 soldiers specially selected to deal with the Immortal Qianbian Gate. Mad Bull Army, step out. Beside General Ox, the general who was supervising the battle roared. A moment later, a troop of 1,000 soldiers stepped out and stepped onto the battlefield. Both sides stepped out and stopped in the middle of the two armies. The figures of the Mad Bull Army were all ferocious, exuding an aura of savagery. This was a troop of trump cards specially selected by the Immortal Qianbian Gate. They were extremely powerful and all of them had beast-type astral souls. Similarly, the Flame Army all had fire-type astral souls and were proficient in the power of flames. This was a troop formed by experts with similar abilities, able to unleash their strongest might. Get into formation! The military governors from both sides roared. In an instant, the 1,000-man army got into formation. A terrifying heat radiated from the Yen army as a 30,000-meter-long fire dragon appeared, blotting out the sky. Even the yellow sand on the ground was scorched red. It was an extremely terrifying sight. Roar! A thunderous roar rang out. The Mad Bull Army got into formation and released their beast-type astral souls. An incomparably ferocious 10,000-meter-long demonic bull appeared, exuding a baleful aura. Kill! Yen Jun launched his attack. The terrifying fire dragon, which shone with a dark luster, swooped over, wanting to destroy everything in its path. The raging bulls roared, and the sky changed color. Demonic chi transformed into a tempest, and numerous raging bulls galloped in the air. The sky was filled with the sounds of violence as the bulls were trampled on and charged towards the fire dragon. Even though they were being burned by the raging flames, they did not fear death and rammed into the fire dragon. The might of an army in formation is truly terrifying. Qin Wentian's heart trembled as he stared at the tyrannical battle between the two armies. The Black Fire Dragon was tyrannical, while the Mad Bull Army attacked with all its might. But even so, the Mad Bull Army was still in a disadvantageous position. However, the experts in the formation were all extraordinary individuals. They frenziedly unleashed their immortal energy to resist the pressure. The formation couldn't be broken. Retreat. Finally, the governor of the Dongshengshan Gate gave the order to retreat. Ultimately, they still couldn't defeat the Mad Bull Army. Return to the troops. The experts from the Immortal Qianbian Gate commanded. The Mad Bull Army returned to the troops. Life and Death 9, step out. The governor of the Immortal Qianbian Gate commanded. A moment later, 9 experts walked out from the troops of the Mad Bull Army. These 9 people all had sharp expressions and exuded extraordinary auras. Qin Wenin turned his gaze onto one of them as his expression instantly turned cold. One of them was actually the person who acted against Luo Huan and Qin Yao. As expected, he was the disciple of the Dream Demon King. He actually managed to escape to this battlefield. Truly extraordinary. He truly wanted to rush out and put on the puppet armor of the Battle Saint tribe to kill this person. But this was a battlefield, he knew that he mustn't be impulsive. Since this person was on the battlefield, he would take his life sooner or later. Qin Wenin discovered that these 9 people had a total of 9 levels, from the 1st level to the 9th level. Each level was a different level. Captain, Is this also a challenge? Qin Wendian asked. One person for each level. This is a form of challenge. We have to send out 9 people to accept the challenge or we would be cowering, weakening our morale. Before the battle starts, we have to determine a victor through the challenge. This time around, the Dongshangshan Gate is too overbearing. They must have come prepared. Yi Qing spoke. In addition, this is a life and death battle. Only the survivor can leave the battlefield. In that case, it's impossible for the 9 of us to fight to a draw. One side would definitely win. Qin Wendian spoke in a low voice. Yes, the closest scenario would be 5 wins and 4 losses. There would definitely be a victor. Xiao Yihan spoke. A single battle to determine life and death. The victor shall live, the loser shall die. Who wants to fight? In the air, the military governor of the immortal Qianbian Gate roared. Loser, die. Winner, 1 low-grade battle merit. Low-grade battle merit could be exchanged for immortal ranked weapons. On the battlefield, one had to kill 10 experts of the same level, or 100 experts of a lower cultivation level, or 3 experts of a higher cultivation level. Only then would 1 low-grade battle merit be awarded. I want to fight. Numerous figures stood out. Instantly, there were hundreds of experts of various cultivation levels who wanted to fight. There were no lack of experts who came here to temper themselves, all of them thirsting for battle. Qin Wenyan and Jun Mingchen walked out at the same time as they shouted, I'm willing to fight. The eyes of Yi Qing and the others flashed as they stared at Qin Wenyan and Jun Mingchen. These 2 fellows were truly audacious. For the sake of battle merit, they even wanted to participate in a life and death battle. The military governor swept his gaze over and started to select the participants. Finally, his gaze landed on Qin Wenyan and Jun Mingchen. And the 2 of you? Fight? Yes. The 9 of them accepted the order and moved towards the battlefield. Do your best, survive. Yi Qing transmitted her voice to Qin Wenyan and Jun Mingchen. Qin Wenyan turned his head and glanced at Yi Qing as he nodded. Don't worry, Captain. Jun Mingchen waved his hands as he spoke with confidence. The 9 participants who stepped out were all at different levels of cultivation. They walked towards the opponents of the same level as them. Qin Wendian fought against a 2nd-level Immortal Foundation expert. Jun Mingchen fought against a 1st-level Immortal Foundation expert. Qin Wendian glanced at the Dream Demon King's disciple. The person who captured Qin Yao and Luo Huan was a 7th-level Immortal Foundation expert. His strength was definitely terrifying. Start the battle. A loud voice rang out. Both armies were incomparably solemn as they stared at the battlefield. The auras of the 18 participants gushed forth as many experts instantly started fighting. Facing Qin Wenyan, there was a young man with a devilish expression on his face. He laughed malevolently, hiding your identity? Are you afraid of settling scores with us later? Daring to participate in an immortal war against my Dongshangshan Gate, do you think you can still survive? Qin Wendian's eyes didn't look at his opponent. Instead, he was staring at the other battles. As expected, the strength of the Dream Demon King's disciple was extremely powerful. His demonic aura caused his opponent to be in a predicament. For this battle, he wouldn't die, he would definitely win for sure. Qin Wenyan really wanted to kill his opponent. But when 2 armies fought, there were naturally rules. Even immortal kings couldn't violate them. If he dared to violate the rules, the immortal king in the air would instantly kill him. The opponent stared at Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan actually had the time to admire the battles of others. This caused an expression of interest to appear on his face. This fellow was simply courting death. He was the disciple of an immortal king from the Dongshangshan Gate and was chosen to participate in this Battle of the 9. For this Battle of the 9, they would definitely win for sure. Chapter 1090. Qin Wendian didn't care about the thoughts of his opponent. He continued to spectate the battle. Among them, other than him and Jun Mingchen, there were 2 other disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm. Evidently, the immortal king didn't choose randomly. Although it seemed like he was selecting people from the army, He had his own plans. The other two disciples from the heavenly talisman realm should be able to win, they should already have the upper hand. He and Jun Mingchen had no problems. In that case, they only needed to win one out of the remaining 5 battles. However, the immortal Qinbian Gate was prepared. The Dongshengshan Gate was prepared as well. All 9 of their opponents were elites, and for the remaining 5 battles, the victor was already very clear. The immortal Qinbian Gate would definitely lose, and the other 2 battles were still in a stalemate. Since you wish to spectate the battles, I will accompany you. Qin Wentian's opponent spoke, glancing at the other battles. Jun Mingchen wasn't in a hurry to battle. He could easily take down a first-level ascendant with no effort at all. Why was there a need to be so anxious? Roar! A thunderous roar rang out from the immortal Qinbian Gate. So it turned out that there were already people on their side who had defeated their opponent. This person was none other than a disciple from the heavenly talisman realm. However, an instant later, the Dongshengshan Gate's army roared in madness. They had also won 1 battle. Very swiftly, the score became 2 wins and 4 losses. The roars from the Dongshengshan Gate grew louder and louder, shaking the heavens and earth. As long as they won 1 more battle, they would be the victors. Other than Qin Wenian and Jun Mingchen, only the last 2 were still frenziedly battling. We have to win. The people from the immortal Qinbian Gate silently mused. If they were defeated again, the victor would already be decided. Even if the other 2 were to win, it would be useless. Yellow Sand billowed. The disciple from the immortal Qinbian Gate coughed out a mouthful of blood. Crimson runes appeared on his palms as he allowed his opponent to land a palm strike on his body. In an instant, a blood-colored light filled the sky as his opponent screamed in agony before vanishing from this world. Roar! The immortal Qinbian Gate roared in unison. There was still a sliver of hope. Yi Qing and the others looked at the battlefield and found that only Qin Wenian and Jun Mingchen were left. They couldn't help but feel nervous. You must win against these 2. Xiao Yihan said. I'm afraid it doesn't bode well. Hao Yang said, you've just entered the battlefield and you don't know anything, yet you dare to be so bold. If you lose, you'll be a sinner, and even death won't be enough to atone for your crimes. Hao Yang! Yi Qing shouted. Hao Yang shut up and didn't say anything else. The army of the 1,000 Transformations Immortal sect stared in that direction. Their morale seemed to have weakened by a few degrees. This was a battlefield. The aura of the loser would be suppressed imperceptibly. As for the 1,000 Transformations Immortal sect, they only needed a single battle to lose. Jun Mingchen's opponent unleashed his immortal foundation. With a loud shout, the sky changed color. Both his fists punched out, shining with brilliant light, capable of destroying everything. Jun Mingchen snorted coldly. Upon seeing the golden fist of his opponent, he lifted his fist as the might of his immortal foundation gushed forth. In an instant, he was like a king of the world. With a single punch, the sky changed color, destroying everything. With a thunderous boom, cracking sounds could be heard from his opponent's fist. His entire body trembled as cracks appeared on his immortal foundation. Jun Mingchen coldly snorted. He stabbed out with a single finger, wanting to annihilate everything. With a thunderous boom, his opponent screamed in agony as his immortal foundation shattered. His body was lacerated as he died on the spot. This scene caused the army of the immortal Qinbian Gate to start. After that, they let out a thunderous roar of rage as their morale returned. They actually gained the upper hand, insta-killing their opponent. This truly boosted their morale, and as time passed, they gradually suppressed the army of the Dongshengshan Gate. Now, only the final battle was left. Powerful! Xiao Yihan praised. I didn't expect this fellow to be so powerful. Now, as long as Tianwen wins, it would be our victory. The 200,000-strong army was paying close attention to this battle. Jun Mingchen turned his head and stared at Qin Wenyin as a smile flickered in his eyes. He had won this battle of life and death. Boom! The expert in front of Qin Wenyin took a step forward. His immortal foundation transformed into a golden immortal ape, containing a terrifying might within. In an instant, The ground beneath his feet caved in. What power! The people of the immortal Qinbian Gate started to feel nervous again. The strength of this expert was too terrifying. They didn't know if their representative would be able to win. The final battle is good as well. Let's use your life as a sacrifice to celebrate our victory. That expert roared. He stomped on the ground, causing thunderous rumbling sounds to echo out unceasingly. The golden immortal ape howled in rage, exuding boundless might. His opponent blasted out with a palm imprint, capable of shattering the earth with a single palm strike. It's a disciple of the immortal sex ape king. Seems like there's no more suspense in this battle. The core members of the Dongshengshan Gate silently mused when they saw this scene. The terrifying palm imprint enveloped Qin Wenyin, akin to Mount Tai crushing down on him, capable of destroying everything. What caused the experts of the immortal Qinbian Gate to freeze was that Qin Wenyin didn't even bother to dodge. He stood there in a daze. Was he scared silly by the overwhelming might? Did he know that he would die for sure? Trash. Hao Yang cursed in a low voice. The people of the immortal Qinbian Gate were all stunned. The palm imprint had already landed on Qin Wentian's body, seemingly about to shatter Qin Wenyin. Boom! The palm imprint landed, enveloping Qin Wentian's body. The people of the Dongshengshan Gate all let out thunderous cheers as their morale surged, celebrating this instant victory. The people of the immortal Qinbian Gate, on the other hand, were completely silent. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's armor suddenly shone with resplendent immortal light. That imposing aura caused everyone to sigh in admiration. Qin Wentian's entire body was enveloped by the immortal light. His body seemed to be indestructible. Such a terrifying force actually couldn't break through his defenses. How can this be possible? The cheers of the Dongshengshan Gate abruptly stopped. How could Qin Wentian's defenses be so strong? Even if he was wearing an immortal weapon that could weaken the impact, he should still have been flung away. That attack had landed on his body with full force. You are so weak? Qin Wentian calmly spoke. He stretched out his hand as a black-colored palm imprint blasted into his opponent's chest. Qin Wenyin had a perfect physique and was tempered by God's hand. How could a mere immortal king's disciple break through his defenses? How ridiculous! His opponent was struck by Qin Wentian's palm. His immortal foundation shattered as his body was flung through the air. After that, he slammed into the ground as destructive immortal energy circulated around him. He died. His opponent was the same as Jun Mingchen's battle, insta-killed. Fight! The army of the immortal Qinbian Gate let out a heaven-shaking roar, causing Qin Wentian's soul to tremble. That aura was simply too terrifying. Qin Wenyin won 2 rounds consecutively and both times were insta-kills. At this moment, the morale of the immortal Qinbian Gate's army reached the peak, firmly suppressing the morale of the army of the Dongshengshan Gate. Let's return. Qin Wenyin and the others returned. The sound of cheering was deafening. Yi Qing stared at Qin Wenyin and Jun Mingchen as she smiled. Awesome. Beautifully done. Xiao Yihan also praised. Everyone in the team gave a thumbs up to Qin Wenyin and Jun Mingchen. At this moment, Qin Wenyin and Jun Mingchen could finally be considered to have truly integrated into this team, gaining their recognition. My apologies for the matters in the past. Hao Yang apologized to Qin Wenyin and Jun Mingchen. Qin Wenyin nodded his head. He didn't mind these people's opinions of him. He wasn't so petty. It's just a battle of 9. A single defeat doesn't mean anything. Many of you are elites of the Dongshengshan Gate, while the others are also heroes of our Eastern Sage 13 prefectures. But these people are merely a motley crew that was formed at the last minute. They need battle merits to obtain cultivation resources. Destroying them is as easy as flipping our palms. The voice of the immortal king from the other side rumbled, rousing the morale of the army. A moment later, the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate also roared. A defeated general actually dares to speak such words. Since you all want to fight, how can the 100,000-strong army of my immortal Qinbian Gate be afraid of you? Let's fight. The immortal king from the immortal Qinbian Gate also roared. In an instant, Both armies radiated a terrifying might, engulfing the heavens and earth as they advanced forward. Formation. Formation. The immortal kings from both sides commanded from the air. Although they wouldn't directly participate in the battle, they could still command the troops. The experts of the Dongshangshan Gate formed different battle formations. There were the Flame Dragon Battle Formation, the Dream Demon Battle Formation, the Frenzied Python Battle Formation, etc. As for the Immortal Qianbian Gate, there was only a single type of battle formation, the Ox Divinity Battle Formation. 10,000 people formed a formation, transforming into an incomparably gigantic ox divinity that could destroy everything. The auras of the heavens and earth gushed forth, creating a scene of destruction. Yellow sand swirled about, transforming into a fearsome tempest. How terrifying was the aura of an army of 200,000! Only when Qin Wenyin was in the middle of the battlefield did he truly feel how terrifying the battlefield was. Qin Wenyin was only a part of the battle formation. At this instant, he could clearly feel how tiny and insignificant he was. Although he was a 9th-level Immortal Foundation expert, he was still an insignificant part of the army of 20,000. Both armies clashed against each other. The battle formations unleashed their attacks as everyone in the army unleashed their immortal energy, infusing it into the formation. The strongest among them controlled the operation of the formation. With a thunderous boom, Qin Wentian's entire body shuddered violently. Just a single strike was enough to shatter the heavens and earth, causing the earth to split apart. Qin Wentian's battle formation was fighting against a devil battle formation. Under the continuous collisions, the immortal energy of everyone was being consumed at a terrifying rate. Many people were even injured from the impact. After another heaven-shaking collision, the battle formations of both sides directly pierced into the enemy's formation. Instantly, countless people were flung through the air. Both sides were armies of 10,000 and they instantly fell into the enemy's formation, causing their battle formations to crumble apart. Since the battle formations have crumbled, use the 100-man battle formations as the foundation and continue fighting. Don't panic. The Immortal King in the air commanded. The might of a small battle formation far surpassed an individual's strength. Everyone, gather together and get into formation. Yi Qing spoke. Qin Wenyin and the others instantly gathered and according to the drill, they instantly formed a demonic ox battle formation with Yi Qing as the core. Everyone's immortal energy was infused into the battle formation, congregating on Yi Qing's body, allowing Yi Qing to control them. The chaotic battlefield was filled with attacks unceasingly, but they were all blocked by the battle formation. This was the advantage of a battle formation. But at this moment, before Yi Qing and the others, a powerful battle formation appeared. A gigantic devil was controlled by a peak-level Immortal Foundation expert. It was extremely dangerous. A gigantic devil palm blasted out as a terrifying corrosive law energy gushed over. Yi Qing controlled the battle formation to block it. The demonic ox battle formation shone with a resplendent immortal light, yet it was being corroded by the gigantic devil palm. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.